The San Francisco 49ers are just about on the clock in day 2 of the NFL draft. Will they finally pick a player? And more importantly, do they have a trade up their sleeve? We'll react to it all on today's Gold Standard podcast presented by Prize Picks. What is good, everybody? Welcome to day 2 of the 2026 NFL Draft here on the Gold Standard 49ers Podcast Network. I am Rob Stats Guerrero. We are part of the Pro Football Insiders. Let's hope they finally do something, right? The 49ers are going to be on the clock in about a minute here as they kick off day 2 of the draft. We know the disappointment of yesterday. We waited around for 3 hours. It didn't happen. It's going to happen today. I don't know if it's going to happen at 33, but they are going to pick somebody today. Thought it was interesting. Yesterday on KNBR, Kyle Shanahan said this.
It's really cool to be at 33, though. I mean, just that it doesn't start that early tomorrow. We have all day tomorrow to kind of get ready for this. We start the draft tomorrow, and we know there's a player there right now that we like. So worst case scenario, we're getting a good player we like, but you also can sit there all day and see if there's any other opportunities that come to us that'll help our team in another way.
That end part I thought was fascinating. Other opportunities that come to us that'll help our team in another way. And then he called the draft pick the worst case scenario. It just made me think that they think that maybe there's some sort of deal, some sort of trade. Looks like Schefter just tweeted they are planning to stick. Well, never mind. All right, throw that out the window. Sorry about that, everybody. My instincts were completely off because Schefter just tweeted it out. So apparently the 49ers were trying to shop this pick all along, and no one took it. And so I guess the quote-unquote worst-case scenario, as Kyle Shanahan said, is going to come to pass. Well, my instincts were wrong on that one. Sorry, everybody. Like I always say, I never promise 100% accuracy on the show. I do promise 100% authenticity. That was my take. I was wrong, clearly. So it looks like they are not trading the pick. They are going to take someone. All right. So then, who do we want, chat? Who do we want? There's a lot of good players still available out on the board for the 49ers. If you want a pass rusher, there are pass rushers. If you want a wide receiver, Denzel Boston is sitting there if that is your, flavor, so to speak. If you want an offensive lineman, Chase Besantis, the guard, the great pass blocking guard is there. I don't think it's too early for him. It's just going to be, what do you want the most? And I have continued to say, I don't really necessarily have a strong positional need or desire. I want guys that can change games. I want impact guys. It's hard for a guard to be an impact player now that I think about it, but impact guys. It's Kittle, it's Warner, it's Bosa. They are still leaning on these guys to make the game-changing plays. They need some new blood. They need some new people that can do that. So if you think that's Denzel Boston, take Denzel Boston. If you think it's Zion Young, take Zion Young at the edge. They have to get somebody that can impact games that isn't a guy that's from like the 2017 draft class or the 2018 draft class. So I'm not picky, but I want to get somebody that can change things in a hurry, change games. Roger Goodell looks like he's at the podium. Of course, they're going to do all sorts of stupid stuff. What do they got? Is that McAfee out there now? Oh, God, just read the damn pick. How about that? A lot of people say protect Purdy. Benjamin says edge or wide receiver. Offensive line is a possible choice as well. We will find out for the Niners. There's a lot of good players still available. Niners, of course, have multiple picks this round. They have a round 3 pick, I should say, that they didn't have yesterday, thanks to the trades that they made. I didn't necessarily think that they got a ton of value for what they gave up, but they got more. Then they seem pretty happy with it. You added the 5th round pick, which they did not have. Yay. Let me pull it up here because I made a nice little graphic for you. There you go. So you moved up to obviously get a 3rd round pick. Okay, cool. You moved up in the 4th round. Okay. You added a 5th round. You traded 2 first-round picks. You didn't get a pick in the 2027 draft, which is much stronger. And you only added 1 pick from what you had. So it's not a massive haul. The 49ers are officially on the clock. Okay, that's great. So you didn't add a ton considering all the moves that you made. So I think that when a team trades down, sometimes they're automatically praised. Like, yes, you did the right thing. You did the smart thing. Congratulations. And it's like, that's not really always the case. By the way, it'll be interesting to me, how long do the 49ers take? They've been on the clock. Do they try and wait it out again just to see if anyone will finally do the damn thing and make a trade now that they're on the clock? Or do they just make a pick right away and say, you know what, we've had all day to try to negotiate this thing, and we're just going to make the pick now? I'll be interested to see that. Is that Goodell coming to the podium already? No, I don't think so. No, not quite yet. You know, last year they went defense in the draft. We don't know what they're going to do. Sorry, I like to wait to see when it's announced, especially because we thought we were getting Cooper DeJean, and then it ended up being Ricky Pearsall. 6 minutes to go here with the 49ers on the clock. When the pick is made, we'll jump into the Beast draft guide. We'll jump into the Dieter and Hutch draft guide as well. Let us see who the pick is going to be. Please make it somebody that can be a game changer. Please. I can't take another high floor guy, right? I need... Rawson Thurber says, can we draft Fred Warner again? Yeah, I would love that. But enough with the trade downs. You already have another pick in the 2nd round. I don't need a trade down. They're showing the Niners draft war room. No one looks like they're doing anything. So they either just sent the pick in, or they're just sitting there. They have the pick ready to go, and they're waiting for the clock to go down just to see if anybody calls them. David says, everyone keeps saying next year's draft is better. I may be wrong, but I thought that was more about the quarterback class. I think it's both. I think it's the quarterbacks, yes, but also just the draft in general. This was not a very highly regarded draft by the so-called experts. So that is what the general consensus can be. Look, they could be wrong, but, you know, that is what I have heard anyway. Vish Bell, you were with us yesterday. Thank you. YouTube channel member says, I think safety or edge here or guard. Wide receiver, I like Surratt value in later 2nd round or 3rd round. Yeah, they don't have to go wide receiver here, I don't think. There are multiple players and receivers that are available at this point. So they need a wide receiver because Evans is on the 1-year contract and Christian Kirk is on the 1-year contract. But I think that they don't have to necessarily reach. They are in a good position from that perspective because they don't have glaring needs like John Lynch said. I do agree. Denzel Boston is still there. Zachariah Branch is still there. Chris Brazzell from Tennessee is still there. Jeremy Bernard, who a lot of people like from Alabama, still there. A lot of people like Ted Hurst from Georgia State as well. Elijah Surratt, we already mentioned. Kyle Posey mentioned Dejon Stribling from Ole Miss yesterday. Chris Bell is there if you want a kind of guy that, you know, you're banking on bouncing back from an ACL injury. But there are options there clearly at wide receiver. At edge, you've got Zion Young, Cassius Howell, Gabe Akis from Illinois. You've got Derek Moore out of Michigan. R. Mason Thomas from Oklahoma is someone whose name I've heard bandied about. Romelo Height from Texas Tech. Now, I think it'd be a little early for some of those guys, but the point is there are options there as well. The tackle, I don't know if not that I think they would go tackle at this point. Maybe that's a little picked over at this point. So anyone that's available is not someone you're going to consider in the 2nd round. Chase Besantis, the guard. Emmanuel Pregnon, the guard from Oregon. Is this the 49ers draft room again? No, that doesn't look like. Oh, that was the Cardinals draft room. Okay. They, of course, are picking after the 49ers. Brian Parker from Duke also is a guard. So there are options there. Anthony Hill is there at linebacker. I know Dieter Kurtenbach was super high on him. I think that's probably a little early. Jacob Rodriguez is there. Just over 2.5 here for the 49ers. They don't want to make this pick. That's what that says to me. They don't want to make this pick. They really thought they were going to be able to trade down, and now they're just like, someone please call us. You had 24 hours to decide, right? You don't need the 10 minutes on the clock to actually decide who the pick is going to be. They knew by some point this afternoon who they were going to take. So they are just sitting there and waiting. They don't want to make a pick. It seems pretty clear. Send it in, fellas. Send it in. Think of the content creators. Okay, we are sitting here poking with the stick. It's like that Simpsons meme. Come on, do something. Let's go. The pick is in. People are saying the pick is in. There's a minute and 48 on ESPN. I know people were criticizing the ESPN broadcast yesterday because they were a little behind. Let's go. Come on, Roger Goodell. Shuffle on out to that podium. They got the pick in. At least it's not like a Jacob Cowing situation where they're deciding with like 30 seconds left on the clock. And I just got a cryptic text from Michelle Majuk, and she is not happy. Oh, boy. She is feverishly texting me. It sounds like this is somebody that not a lot of people have picked. But look, this is what the 49ers do, right? They always go against the consensus. I don't know who it is. She's not texting me who it is, but I got a lot of disbelief. If Michelle is unhappy, it's very possible that they took Denzel Boston because she doesn't like Denzel Boston. So let's wait and see. Come on. They're stalling for time. They're showing the wide shots. They're waiting for Roger Goodell to get to the podium. Oh, I'm getting texts from other people too. I hate this team. Oh boy. Oh no. Who is this going to be? Now I'm stunned. I can't wait. Let's go. Why am I getting all the what happened? What happened? I talked to a 49er source yesterday that said prepared to be disappointed. So, yeah. Apparently some people are. Come on. Let's go here. Roger Goodell's at the podium. Pick 33, the 49ers looks like they go wide receiver. Dejon Stribling is the pick for the San Francisco 49ers. First pick in the draft, they go offense, unlike last year where they went defense, 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 defense. What's your reaction in the chat? I want to know. Most of you probably don't even know who he is, right? I didn't know who he was, to be honest with you, until Kyle Posey suggested him on last night's show. So let's go to the Dieter and Hutch draft guide. That's a name that I trust, or not. We'll go to the Dieter and Hutch in a second. We'll go to the Beast. Dane Brugler is one of the draft guides that I read. There he is, as you can see. And let's check out what he says. Not the most well-rounded route runner, but big-bodied with great hands and a pro mindset. He's 23 years old, 1-year starter at Ole Miss and a 4.5-year starter overall. He was an outside wide receiver primarily to the left of the formation. Let's see. With his tall, muscular frame, Stribling quickly accelerates to his top speed and has quickness out of route breaks, even if he didn't put the most versatile route inventory on film. Hitches and go routes account for 57% of his route frequency in 2025. Wow, that is a lot. Dependable hands. He never drops the ball, plays strong to the football, but needs to do a better job with his positioning downfield to finish tight window throws. His smarts and willingness to do the dirty work are coach-pleasing qualities. Well, we know that's what Kyle Shanahan values, right? He likes guys that block. He likes guys that do the dirty work. Let me zoom in here a little bit so we can actually see this thing. Brugler says, Stribling isn't the most well-rounded in terms of route success, but he's a big-bodied athlete with strong ball skills and a pro mindset. He has the talent and competitive toughness to settle into a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 role for an offense. That's kind of a bummer, right? You would like a higher ceiling a little bit. 6'2", 207, ran a 4.36 40-yard dash. Again, Niners talked about speed The wide receivers that they have drafted have been speed wide receivers. I know they haven't played Jordan Watkins, but he's a 4.3 guy. They haven't played Jacob Cowing. He's a 4.3 guy. Pearsall, I think, ran a 4.41. And now Stribling obviously runs the 4.36. Let's look at some of the other strengths and weaknesses. Well-built frame with sculpted arms, torso, and legs. Sudden jab step to evade press and enter his route. Quick to accelerate in a straight line. Steady hands away from his body. Only one drop last year. Competes with a physical mindset and plays strong on back shoulder targets. Ball tracking skills are a strength in his game. Willing blocker. Accountable, pro-ready mindset. Team captain for 6 games in 2025. And he was productive at 3 different programs. Weaknesses. Now, these I'm kind of picky about, but let's see. Lacks ideal arm length for his frame with mediocre results on contested targets. Can do a better job boxing out and capitalizing on body position. Inconsistent sink and deception at the top of routes. Needs to better leverage man coverage to create separation. Ooh, that's a little scary. More fast than elusive. Catches too much as a blocker, but has upside to get better. I don't even know what that means. Not much of a special teams resume and had a broken wrist while bracing his fall after a catch. Those negatives don't sound terrible to me, right? It doesn't sound like the worst guy ever. It doesn't sound like anything that can't be fixed, so to speak. So that's encouraging. Chase Basantis, by the way, just went to the Cardinals afterwards. I don't know. I haven't watched any film on him. Actually, that's not true. I watched like 2 clips this morning after Kyle Posey came on yesterday and talked about it. Somebody says Jawan Jennings with 4.3 speed. Here's the thing. Is that a compliment or is that a criticism? I'm not quite sure. I don't know. A lot of people are saying they should have just went with Chase Basantis. Some people look, here's how it usually goes. And we saw this with Ricky Pearsall. If it is a name that has not been mocked a lot, people automatically hate it. And I get that because you sort of get primed. You hear about these guys, you dive into these guys, and you sort of get primed to expect one out of a handful of people, right? We thought Casey Concepcion, Omar Cooper, maybe Denzel Boston, guys like that. And so when that doesn't happen, we automatically assume the worst, right? Oh, the 49ers are going against consensus because nobody thought that they were going to pick him, and so it must be a bad pick. Don't do that yet. Like I said, a lot of people, I think, probably haven't spent much time paying attention to him. By the way, let me just double check because I hate to get people's names wrong. They usually have Dazon Stribling. Okay, there you go. Dazon Stribling. I apologize. I should have looked at that first. But, let's see what we've got here. I agree with Vish Bell. Let's just see what we have. Obviously, the 49ers still have multiple picks left in this round, or they have another pick in round 2. They have a pick in round 3, so they're clearly not done adding to the team. And like I said, don't freak out just yet. The picture's not complete, right? We have a whole draft to go. The 49ers have only made 1 pick so far, so we don't have we have an incomplete picture of what's going on right now. But I don't know. I just, let's not assume the worst right away. All right. Okay, let's go to the Dieter and Hutch draft guide. I love Dieter and Hutch, as everybody knows. I think their draft guide is, first of all, it's just flat out one of the funnier draft guides. But I'm scrolling down. Here's a sign that might rub people the wrong way. Stribling is, wow, how far down is he in their wide receiver rankings? Let me see. He is number 31 on the Dieter and Hutch rankings. See, this is why I like the guide. Let me throw it up on the screen. Oh, God, people can't read that. All right, here, I'll make it a little bigger. Maybe, probably not, but maybe is the draft analysis from Dieter and Hutch. Now, they give him blue chip in terms of cream of the crop athlete with top-tier physical traits. It says the traits are all great, but his lack of function is glaring. He can only catch the ball if no one is anywhere near him. A straight line only player. He could be a clear out power slot in the mold of an Andre Losevis. I don't even know who that is. Has shown a desire to block in the run game, but doesn't hit anyone with any weight. Shades of Terrence Marshall Jr. They had him projected as a round 7 player. Okay, well, I think we know what Dieter and Hutch are going to say about that. So that's obviously quite lower. I didn't actually look. Dane Brugler had Stribling as a second or third round grade. So, again, this is flavor of the month, or I should say, beauty in the eye of the beholder. That's what I should say. People don't like that it was a wide receiver. Rookie receivers don't even play unless there's a bunch of injuries. Actually, in some cases, they don't play even if there's a bunch of injuries. People are saying Shanahan didn't look too happy. Well, we'll have to see. No one will look unhappier than Sean McVay did yesterday after they took Ty Simpson. There, I'm just looking at the reactions in the chat. Oh, we got a super chat I didn't see. Apologize. Says, isn't this the guy Kyle Posey loved? Yes, it is. In fact, he mentioned him unprompted to me. Out of the blue, it was just, hey, how about Stribling? Because I was talking about, I was a little bummed they missed out on Omar Cooper, and he brought up Stribling yesterday just out of the blue. He was the guy that KP liked. Again, I think in this draft, it's going to be a lot of the eye of the beholder. It's going to be a lot of, these guys physically, there's not that much separating them. So which of the guys that are here, whose skills do you like? Whose skills do you think fit the best? And again, I'm not trying to tell you Stribling's going to be a good player. I have no idea if he's going to be a good player. I'm just not going to assume right out of the gate, because I didn't see him a lot in mock drafts, that he stinks. That's what I'm saying. What I really think, honestly, is that the 49ers didn't want to make the pick. I think they're not going to say it, but I think when you listen to what Kyle Shanahan said yesterday, and he called it the worst case scenario was making a pick, I think they didn't want to make a pick. And they were waiting all day. They thought somebody would go and make an offer and that they would be able to trade down again. What I should say is I think the 49ers probably think he was picked too high. But I think they think that anybody that was picked in this spot was going to be picked too high, which is why they kept telling people they wanted to trade out of it. They're not going to say that, in the press conference. I highly doubt they're going to say, yeah, well, we didn't really want to make the pick. But just judging them by what they said and how they were leaking this to everybody that they wanted to make a trade, I think that's probably, if you gave them the truth serum, deep down in places they don't talk about at parties, that's what they think. I just got a text from Johnny Dell, who does our film breakdowns with us here on the channel on Thursdays. He said, I had an early third-round grade on Stribling. That's why I never looked at him. Seemed a range we wouldn't pick a wide receiver. Weird. That sums up the 49ers in one word. Michelle Majuk is furious. What the bleep? They stink at drafting. They think they're so much smarter than everyone else. What are they reaching for? He would have easily been there at 58. Why didn't they just stay where they were and take Omar Cooper? If Michelle joins us later, she's going to destroy them. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Like, the fact that Dieter and Hutch had him as a 7th round pick and Dane Brugler had him as a 2nd, 3rd round pick just tells you, the draft class is weird. It's a weird draft class. Maybe the 49ers made a terrible pick. I have no idea. But at least today, I want to wait and see. I want to watch some highlights for myself and maybe make a decision. For anyone that doesn't know, what I do, especially for the first pick, I like to do this is just show me your highlights. Show me your best plays. And I better see something in those clips that makes me go, wow. That makes me that pops off the screen to me, because these are your best plays, right? So when you're at your best, I better see something that makes me go, damn, okay. And if I do, then I at least have a little bit of hope that you might be a good player. But if I don't see something that's obvious, I'm not talking about squinting and being like, oh, you see his footwork on it. No, I want like something obvious that pops. If you don't have it, I get real worried real quick. Real worried real quick. A lot of the general Frisbee Life says mimosas are being thrown against the wall as we speak. You would think, but Michelle would never waste a mimosa. She would never. She might be mad, but she'll never be that mad. Darth Balls says they are just bleep at drafting. Ask Johnny Dale to make a quick video going over some film for him. Don't worry, we are going to have film breakdowns of all these guys on Thursday on the channel. A week from yesterday, we will have film breakdowns. So don't worry, Johnny's already assembling the tape. We do that every Thursday here on the channel. So don't worry, that is going to be a thing. TIMG, Tim says, To continue to improve the offense without improving the offensive line is sanity. My faithfulness is severely being tested. No improved O-line, no Super Bowl victory. Here's the thing. You don't know that they haven't improved the offensive line. They've made one pick. What if they pick an offensive lineman at 58? Then are they not improving the offensive line? That's what I mean. That's exactly what I'm talking about. We don't have a full picture yet. They can only pick one position at a time, right? Like, we have to wait and zoom out and see the full picture. I remember thinking the same thing last year where I was like, oh, I don't know about this pick. And then by the time the draft was over, I was like, all right, I think they did pretty well. So we don't know if they haven't improved all this other stuff. We don't know. We got to let it zoom out here and we can see. I think that Kyle Posey just tweeted something about, here. I'll throw it up on the chat so we can all look at it together. Get out of here, Dieter and Hutch draft guide. I'm trying to get another thing up here. Here's what Kyle Posey wrote about Stribling. Let's see. I will read it. He says, Stribling is the next wide receiver on my board. I'm obnoxiously high on him. I have Bell wide receiver 2, Boston wide receiver 3, and Stribling wide receiver 6, behind Casey Concepcion, but ahead of Malachi Lemon and Omar Cooper Jr., 2 players drafted in the first round. To say I'm bullish on Stribling is an understatement. He's the most Shanahan McVay type of receiver in this draft. That would seem to be accurate considering that he was just taken by Kyle Shanahan. Stribling caught 74% of his targets last season for 811 yards and 6 touchdowns. The majority of those were under 10 yards, but you could see NFL talent at the intermediate range. He caught 4 of his 6 contested targets in this area and went on to force a pair of missed tackles. He turns 24 in December, which could push him to the 3rd round. Over 6'2", over 200 pounds. Hands are 10 inches. He ran a 4.36 with a broad jump in the 82nd percentile, and he plays as he tests. The athletic testing isn't what sold me. It was his usage as a blocker and how Stribling imposed his physical will play after play. However, I used that athletic testing and narrowed the weight to 200 to 210 pounds. It's a unique physical profile as only 4 wide receivers check every box across NFL IQ's historical data set. 2 went on to have NFL careers, Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Christian Watson. So that's somebody that's probably about as high as you can be on Stribling. That's Kyle Posey of Niners Nation, who you know I love and who was on this show yesterday singing the virtues of Stribling. I know what the reaction's going to be. Again, it's going to be that they reached, not shocking. And the 49ers have a history of reaching. So when you have a history of reaching and you take a guy that not a lot of people have mocked, you're going to get that reaction. So again, brace yourself for that. But what we have seen is we don't know until these guys play. We don't know. Nate Tice says, Stribling is one of my favorite players in this draft class, a player that can contribute in a ton of ways, including possibly being the best blocking wide receiver in the class. Tested very well. Really like this. Oh, yeah. And power slot potential. So there you go. Not everybody is saying the 49ers reached. A lot of people seem to be pretty happy about that. Batman29 says, Jordan Watkins, Ole Miss wide receiver, barely played last year. Didn't play at all last year, I don't think. I mean, I don't even know if he's still alive. He could be in this room and I wouldn't know Jordan Watkins. Let's be honest. That's how little he got in there. Brian Stack says, Stats, they had a chance at the line and they didn't do it. Well, they have more than one pick. Again, they can't take all positions with every pick. They have more than one pick. A lot of people are saying he won't play. Well, we don't know that. I mean, Mike Evans has an injury history as well. Christian Kirk has an injury history. Again, let's let this guy, can we at least let him get on the field for rookie minicamp before we declare him a bust? Damn, man. People are saying he's had a major injury. I'm trying to see. I didn't see that. I'm not saying that he didn't. He broke his wrist in September of 2023. Like I said, he missed the final games of the season, but a broken wrist is not, a massive injury. I'm trying to see if there's anything in the family stuff. He used to be a quarterback. He switched to receiver in 7th grade. His father, Don the Rock Morocco, was a professional wrestler, including the stint in the WWF from 81 to 88. That's awesome. His uncle was a professional wrestler. Let's see. This is all high school stuff. He was a 3-star recruit. He had offers from San Diego State and Wake Forest, Washington State, yada, 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 transfer, blah, blah, blah. Graduated with a degree in university studies. What the hell does that even mean? Declined his invitation to the Senior Bowl because of how late Ole Miss season extended into January. So nothing earth-shattering there. So there it is. Stribling is the pick. Enraging 49ers fans everywhere. I get it. Look, when there's names that you know and that you've spent, we spend months watching, right? And we get an idea of the names we want the 49ers to choose from. And so when they take Dazon Stribling, you're like, what? I didn't prepare for this, right? So I get the reaction. Some people are saying he's Danny Gray 2.0. A lot of people keep saying Juwan Jennings 2.0. It's not Juwan Jennings 2.0, okay? Because Juwan Jennings ran like a 4.6, and Stribling was way faster than that. He ran in the 4.3s. So what if it's Juwan? First of all, if it was Juwan Jennings 2.0, would you be mad? Because I know a lot of people love Juwan Jennings. And second of all, if it's Juwan Jennings with speed, are you mad? If you anyone that's doubting the pick in the chat, answer that question for me. If it's Juwan Jennings 2.0, are you mad? And if it's Jennings with speed, are you mad? Because if the answer is no to any of those, then you can't be mad that they picked him. Matt Miller says, Stribling was 75 on my big board, so the value's off here, but the 49ers need a deep threat wide receiver, and his 4.33 speed at 6'2 is intriguing. Raw route runner, but he can scoot. A lot of people laughing at the 49ers in Twitter, actually, too. I mean, again, I'm choosing to be positive. You guys could be completely right. I'm willing to admit that. But at least let's just wait and see before we forecast doom and gloom. If it's going to be doom and gloom, it's going to be. So I'll save that disappointment for down the road. I don't want to have another day of disappointment. This comment says Juwan Jennings with 4.3 speed. I like it. Wedge Antilles, can he block and separate? JJ could block, but he struggled to separate. Ross Johnson, I'm hearing enough good stuff from John Chapman that the value might be off, but could be good. The value, like the whole value thing, it matters for today, it matters for tomorrow, and then it doesn't matter at all. It doesn't. Because he's on your team, so who cares? I've never heard anybody, when a guy catches a touchdown pass, be like, great route by that receiver, but damn, he was drafted 10 picks too high. You know, like it goes away because they're just on your team and you just have to deal with it. So I just want to you're going to hear a lot about that stuff today, but I wouldn't get that bent out of shape about it, especially in a draft that people are saying the players are largely homogenous. And, you know, there's not that much differentiation between the physical skill level of certain guys. It's like, well, then what do we really care about the value? You know, John V76 YouTube channel member says George Kittle convinced Kyle to draft him because his uncle was a wrestler. That's funny. We know George loves wrestling. Obviously, it's not true. You're joking around, but still funny. Comment of the day so far. Rawson Thurber says Kyle likes to draft wide receivers and then not let them on the field. It's his kink. Yeah, kind of is. Well, it'd be interesting now because you've got Evans, you've got Kirk, you've got Pearsall, you've got Demarcus Robinson, you've got Jacob Cowing, you've got Jordan Watkins. Those are your receivers right now. You've just drafted another wide receiver. It wouldn't shock me if Watkins or Cowing got cut. Now, Lynch kind of shouted out Cowing at the combine, so maybe they're not going to cut him. Would it shock me if Jordan Watkins got cut? At this point, no. Lynch even said at the combine he's got a long way to go, I think he said, or he has to take a big step. That might have been the phrasing that he used, but he certainly didn't show him any love at the combine. That is for sure. That is absolutely for sure. So we'll have to wait and see how the wide receiver situation plays itself out. And again, I want to remind people too, everyone said that Ricky Pearsall was a luxury pick, and then it ended up not being a luxury pick because you were like, oh my God, thank God we have Ricky Pearsall because everybody else is hurt. And then, of course, Pearsall got hurt too. But nonetheless, so Stribling is the pick. Ross says, why not trade one of them for a low 6th or 7th and not just cut them? Again, somebody's got to want them, right? James says, re-sign JJ for $20 million or get a draft pick that is a better version. Good plan. Yeah, look, Juwan, Stribling could do everything Juwan Jennings did for the 49ers. Like, that is entirely possible. I don't think that is unreasonable at all. I think people forget, too. Other than the year where Juwan Jennings was like, where everybody was hurt and Juwan Jennings had to be the number 1 wide receiver, he didn't really do that much. 282 yards, 5 touchdowns as a rookie for Juwan. 416 yards, 1 touchdown in 2022. 265 yards and 1 touchdown in 13 games in 2023. Obviously, 2024, 77 catches, 975 yards, 6 touchdowns. And then last year, 643 yards, 9 touchdowns. He was their wide receiver that they threw to around the goal line. That is something that they are going to have to replace. Now, I think they've done that with Mike Evans. But it's not like Juwan Jennings was putting up 1,300 yards every year. Joe Muzzy says it's not a good pick right now because of where they took him. But again, you don't actually know how good he is. That's my point. You don't know how good he is. So maybe it's a great pick. What if he's the best wide receiver in the class? And then it's great that they got him in round 2, right? So again, I think that some people are overreacting just a little bit. Matthew McBride says, what the F are we taking a 3rd-round pick at number 33? Is he a 3rd-round pick? I would argue he's a 2nd-round pick because that's where he was picked. Again, if it's a name people don't see in their mock drafts, they automatically think it's a reach. And the mock drafts are, I mean, everybody had Caleb Lamu mocked to the 49ers. So how did that work out? Right? I didn't see a lot of people saying Lamu was a reach when he got picked before the 49ers were even on the clock. I'm trying to check the 49ers beat and see if any of them has provided anything interesting. Okay, looks like Stribling gave an interview. I will pop this up. I have no idea what he said, but let's throw it up here and we can talk. This is Stribling talking about apparently his fit with the 49ers.
I'm a very versatile guy. I can do a lot of things and also block at a high level. So very excited to go out there and contribute in the pass game, but also the run game also.
Did you meet with John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan at the Combine, and what were those conversations like if you did?
No, haven't met with them yet. First time hearing from them, so excited to know more about them and have some more conversations.
That is not probably going to win over a bunch of 49ers fans. That's probably not going to win over a lot of fans, but you don't have to meet with everybody before you draft it. They didn't meet with Mike McGlinchey before they drafted him, right? Sometimes they meet with you because they're interested, and sometimes they don't meet with you because they don't want anyone to know that they're interested. Someone said to Tim Kawakami, intrigued by who they pick at 58. Seems like they very much have their own board. Not necessarily a bad thing, but I have to think something DL-ish, is next. Kawakami said, I agree with all of this. Nick Wagner said they liked Stribling's run blocking, something that wasn't as strong last year for the receiving core. I will say this. The run blocking last year from the receiving core was pitiful last year. Whether it was Kendrick Bourne or Juwan Jennings, anybody, they stunk, the wide receivers did, at blocking. That was part of the reason the run game did not pick up big chunks down the field. As Kyle Shanahan said repeatedly over and over again, the run blocking from the wideout. I was talking about Johnny Dell, who does the film breakdown on Thursdays earlier. He and I have clips. You can go and watch them. Not now. This is our time. But you can go and watch the film breakdowns where we are showing just lackluster effort from blocking wide receivers. Now, you could say Juwan Jennings was injured because he had the broken ribs and stuff, and I get all that, and I agree with you. But whatever the reason, the blocking from the wide receivers was bad. You would hope that would be better with some of the guys they signed this year, but I'm sure the Niners looked at it and they were like, we want to be a running team, and if part of our success on the ground is going to be wide receivers that block, we need guys that can do that. Now, you can reasonably say you don't draft a wide receiver in the 2nd round because of his blocking. I think that's a totally fair criticism. He's got to be able to do other stuff too. And the 49ers obviously think that Stribling can. And again, we'll have to wait and see. Vish says, my thing is Stribling one of our future wide receivers next to Pearsall? No disrespect, Vish, but I think the question you probably should be asking is Pearsall one of our future wide receivers? Right now, you would think that Stribling, he may end up being there longer than Ricky Pearsall. Hopefully, Ricky can stay on the field. I haven't even been paying attention to the picks that have come off the board here. Let's look at the tracker here for round 2. Stribling went to the 49ers. Then the Cardinals took Chase Besantis right after. Let me bring that up so I can just people can watch, so I don't have to just read it out here. As I pull up the NFL.com draft tracker. TJ Parker goes to the Bills. Caden McDonald goes to the Texans. Colton Hood, the corner, goes to the Giants. Man, the Giants are having themselves a draft. Trayden Stukes was a guy a lot of people wanted the 49ers to take. He goes to the Raiders. He's a safety. And then Denzel Boston finally goes off the board to the Browns with the 7th pick in the 2nd round. So then the Chiefs, I believe their pick is in. Looks like someone is shuffling to the podium now. So we'll get the Chiefs pick, and then it's Cincinnati, the Saints, the Dolphins, the Jets, and on we go. 49ers next pick is 26 in round 2. It's 58 overall, unless they move up. Now, maybe they will. They've got that 3rd round pick. They could package that. So we'll have to wait and see. But that is what has happened thus far in round 2. Let's see. How many picks have we had? 8 picks, and we're 40 minutes into this. That's not terrible. That's not terrible. The Chiefs just took R. Mason Thomas, the edge rusher from Oklahoma. So, yay, Kansas City Chiefs. But it sounds like, just judging from my chat, the overwhelming feel is that the 49ers made a huge, massive reach. And most fans are unhappy. And I get it, right? I get it. It was not a name that we had heard. Kawakami says, I don't judge players I haven't studied and sure haven't studied this guy. I'll make a call when I see him in camp. During the draft, I judge a team's strategy, and this fits the 49ers' overall strategy. We'll see how good he is soon enough. Nick Wagner also tweeted, one thing the 49ers definitely needed at wide receiver was more juice. They didn't have an offensive player break 20 miles per hour with the ball in his hands last year. Stribling ran a 4.36 40-yard dash. He said he had a good idea the Niners were interested in him through the draft process. Yes, he is fast. Obviously, that can't be the only thing he does, though, right? Danny Gray was super fast, and he didn't do a damn thing for the 49ers. Jacob Cowing was fast. Jordan Watkins is fast. They have yet to do anything. So speed is great, and you can't teach it, and that's awesome to have. But you got to be able to do other things, too. So I'm a little surprised they didn't go safety. I was kind of hoping for Emmanuel McNeil-Warren there. Didn't happen. But again, we got a whole draft to go. We got to see the complete picture, and we'll get a better sense after the end of today. Joe JC, thank you very much for the super chat, Joe. I appreciate that. Says, makes sense in this particular draft that you'll end up having to talk yourself into waiting and seeing on a pick or two. Ideally, that doesn't happen with your very first pick. Yeah, that's fair. And again, I think part of it, too, is like we sat around for 3 hours yesterday, right? We were waiting and waiting after months of waiting and waiting. And then the 49ers trade down. And then the 49ers trade down. So the anticipation for the pick is building and building and building. And you finally get on the clock. And then you hear they might trade down from pick 33. And you might have to wait even more. And then finally we find out, no, they are going to make a pick. And the guy they pick, everybody goes, who? So I get the reaction from a lot of fans that say this guy is not any good. I have no idea, again, if he's going to be good or not. Does he have raw skills? Yeah, that sounds good. I haven't watched enough to know. Obviously, the opinions vary on him. We don't know. We got to wait and see how we see him in camp. And I know that, you always want to feel good immediately after the pick. You want to be like, yeah, we killed it. But your reaction on draft day could be very, very different to how you feel when it gets into training camp and we get into the season and we see him. And so let's acknowledge that, right? Nobody thought George Kittle was going to be George Kittle. Nobody thought Fred Warner was going to be Fred Warner or Dre Greenlaw was going to be Dre Greenlaw. Let's wait and see. Michael says he can block and he's fast. 2 good traits as a wide receiver. Jacob Gordon says Brock will put the ball in places where Stribling can run with it. That's true. Sir Sparked says, who knows if he would have been there at 58? I think this draft is leaning on trades due to lack of talent. It's easy for us to say that he would have been there at 58. I don't know that he would have been. You don't know that he would have been. I think we can all acknowledge the 49ers have more information than we do in that regard. But also, teams make mistakes all the time, and certainly the 49ers have made mistakes all the time, and it's very possible the 49ers made another one. We don't have enough information to judge. Let's see. Who else was picked here as we go along? Okay, the Cincinnati Bengals picked Cassius Howell, the edge rusher. It is surprising that the 49ers have not gone edge because that is the one spot that seemingly everybody says they needed, and they love to pick edge rushers. They love to pick edge rushers. In fact, Niners have used a first selection on a defensive lineman in 5 of the 9 drafts under Lynch and Shanahan. Obviously, now it's 5 of the 10 drafts because they didn't do it this time. The Saints select Christian Miller, defensive tackle. So it is a little surprising that the 49ers didn't go edge yet, but again, they have another pick at 58. So if they go edged, right? If they take wide receiver with this pick, they go edge at 58. If they take offensive line at pick 90, maybe a safety at pick 127, let's say, and then go best player available for the other 2 picks in round 4 and then round 5. How are you feeling about that draft? Do you feel better about it than you feel now? I feel pretty good about that. You walk out of this draft with a receiver, an edge player, and an offensive lineman that could potentially be contributors to your team this year. I would feel good about it. I would feel great if they got a guy I thought was a game-changing type of player. Like I said earlier, that would be the A+ no notes draft. But not everybody is an all-pro. Boy, I really sound like I'm coping, don't I? Maybe I am. George Shuttlewood says, this guy's Juwan Jennings with great athleticism. Tom says, Lynch should have just stayed as an announcer. That's harsh. Yeah, maybe it is copium by me. But again, I'm choosing to be happy. I don't know. I think it's okay to say I don't know. Here's what I would say to everybody in the chat that says it's bad. How do you know? How do you know he's a bad player? Have you watched a ton of Dazon Stribling? Were you spending your days breaking down Dazon Stribling film? Is that what you were doing? Or are you just going off the fact that he wasn't in a lot of mock drafts? If you're just going off the fact that he wasn't in a lot of mock drafts, that's not necessarily the most accurate way to judge a player's talent. Puka Nacua wasn't in anybody's mock drafts, right? I'm just saying you can call it copium, and maybe a little bit of it is, not going to lie, but also it's true. It is true. Fino says, I know that Lynch and Shanahan do not have a good draft record in recent history, and that's a fair criticism. But that also doesn't mean that every pick they make is bad, right? It goes both ways. Yes, they've made some bad picks. They've also made some good picks. So I can use that. You can use that piece of information however you want to justify your opinion. All right. I am seeing rumors of a trade by the 49ers, but I'm trying to confirm it. My Twitter is a little behind, so I don't know if that's true. Dieter Kurtenbach says, Stribling was one of the hottest names on the block this past month, going from a day 3 guy all the way to a certain top 50, particularly after he made visits. Easy to see why the Niners like, or what the Niners like in him. Elite speed, size, tackle breaker, yak machine, can play inside and out. A bit rich at 33, to be honest, but this is classic Niners draft play, infatuated with a guy, particularly if they see him as something close to a 1-to-1 replacement for something they lost. In this case, what if Juwan Jennings had speed, which is pie in the sky stuff, but hey. That's interesting because I thought he would criticize him a little more, but apparently... hold on. People are saying the 49ers traded Dee Winters. I haven't seen that on my Twitter. Can we confirm in the chat People are saying to the Cowboys. Oh boy. 49er. I thought that Dee Winters could be on the block. Yeah, it looks like Vic Tafer has just tweeted it. That they traded him to the Cowboys. I want to see the return. That's interesting. He was not the veteran guy I thought the 49ers would trade if they traded somebody. I want to see the return. That's fascinating because it's going to be Fred. It's going to be Dre. We know Dre Greenlaw's injury history is dicey, to say the least. So that means are you depending on Nick Martin? Could they sign Eric Kendricks again, who's still kind of just out there? Looks like the Niners are getting a 5th-round pick for Dee Winters. That's what Tom Pelissero has tweeted out. A 5th-round pick. They traded him to the Cowboys, and they're getting a 5th-round pick in return. They really must have been out on Dee Winters. They really must have been out on Dee Winters, because if you can't just say, well, Dre Greenlaw's here, we don't need linebackers. That is not the case. He's unreliable. 5th-round pick. So they must have a lot of faith in Nick Martin, or maybe they just say Eric Kendricks and we'll figure it out. But that is a little surprising. And again, why do you want a 5th-round pick in this year's draft? Right? Like, if the draft is not that good, why do you want to pick so deep in it? If there's like this big sort of shelf where after you get past it, it falls out, what is the value of a 5th-round pick in this draft? I don't know. So I don't know. That's kind of a head scratcher to me, to be honest. Like, how does that 5th-round pick provide you more value than what Dee Winters provides you? Dee Winters is coming off his best season he's ever had. He stayed healthier than he's ever stayed. Think about the linebackers that we saw with them last year. Garrett Wallow was out there. Kendricks was out there. We were praying for Tatum Bethune to come back from injury. I forgot to mention him earlier. So, yeah, I guess Tatum Bethune is still there. Maybe they feel more comfortable with him. But you're also allowed to just have a room full of quality players, and they could have just kept Dee Winters. So I don't know, again, what is the value of this 5th-round pick that you are getting from the Cowboys? Now Cowboys fans are texting me. Johnny Dale says, I may not have gotten everything right, but I called the Dee Winters trade. So we'll see. Dee Winters is also going to be a free agent after the year. And the 49ers probably said, you know what, we're not going to re-sign him. And so if we can get something for him, for a guy that we know we're not going to pay close to the market rate to get, we're going to do it. That's a factor too. 49ers would love to add picks here. Oh, Jacob Rodriguez just went to Miami. Bummer. He was the guy that I was kind of high on. But obviously they could have passed on him, so they didn't. We'll obviously keep an eye out for more breaking news in a second. I wanted to put this tweet on the board about Stribling. And again, I get it. A lot of you think I'm coping, and I'm willing to admit that maybe I am a little, but I'm also just trying to get information. He scored a 9.88 RAS at the combine, which is out of 10. He was the 8th fastest among wide receivers in the class, obviously has potential to be an explosive wide receiver. You can see the athletic testing. There's a lot of green there, which is good. Again, numbers can be misleading for sure, but at least there's some foundation for what the 49ers saw in him, right? It's not a guy with no athleticism that also didn't have great production. There's something there. We just got to see what it is. And they think if they can get him in their building with their people, that they can get something out of him. So I would say that's more what it is. I'm trying to gather information as opposed to straight coping. Bonte Hill says, I'm not going to lie. I'm shocked the 49ers went wide receiver. This is why I stopped doing mock drafts a long time ago, because I realized I don't know what the hell goes on in these war rooms. Did anyone have Dejon Stribling getting drafted by the 49ers? No. Someone said to Matt Miller, based on their board, their value was fine. There's a reason you're on Twitter and they're in the war room. And Matt Miller responded, the 49ers' recent drafting, especially in early rounds, hasn't been good. Maybe they should be listening to me. You can't really argue with him. You can't really argue with him. What's the probability that Kyle is actually going to play him, though? I don't know. Maybe he doesn't have a problem playing younger wide receivers, but Jacob Cowing and Jordan Watkins just absolutely suck. Although Cowing was injured literally all season last year. Nathan Bobick says, Niners about to trade all the 5th-round picks they acquired so Kyle can move up to take another running back. That's also possible. You can package some of these picks to move up. I would be in support of that. I think you've got enough picks now to where you can move up and still get, one of the quality players. At the risk of this being demonetized, so I'm going to throw this up here. A couple of Stribling highlights. I'm sure they'll demonetize it. If you want to throw me a super chat or two, I wouldn't say no. I mean, look, he is what he is. Let's see here. He's making some plays. He's breaking some tackles. I think the interesting thing about can he catch the ball in traffic is, something that we're going to have to find out. But also Shanahan's good at finding space for guys. I like the way he came back to the ball just then. That was nice. There's a catch in traffic. We did see a lot of hitches and curls. Ooh, that's nice. Get around him. Can you take it to the house? Yes, you can. Outrun that safety. There you go. All right. Bam. Makes one man miss, and he is out. Okay. Now, is that the Danny Gray play in the preseason to Trey Lance that we saw? Right? Remember that? We were all like, yeah, the future is now. The future is here. Turns out, yeah, that wasn't the case. I see people talking, now they've had time to watch some of the Stribling highlights. Breaking news, Stribling has moved from wide receiver to right tackle. That's funny. Jordan says, Debo, Ayuk, Pettis all played some. Ricky got shot, so it's hard to count him. And Ricky did play. As soon as he came back from the gunshot wound, he played. So it wasn't like they were afraid to play him. Jason says, no issue taking him. It's taking him at 33. And again, I can get that, but we don't know how good he is. So we don't know if it's off. We don't know if he would have been available. So let's not freak out. I think this is what it is. This is a great comment. Beats Rhythms Aloha says, or Beats Rhymes Aloha, excuse me. All that studying and predicting mock drafts for nothing. I do think that's part of it. I think that is part of it. We have all tried to predict who they are going to take, right? We have spent our time, our free time, because, your free time, I get paid to do this, but we've spent our free time, the most valuable commodity that we have as human beings. All the money in the world never bought a second of time. We have all spent our time trying to figure it out and studying and watching highlights, right? Reading scouting reports, reading mock drafts, watching highlights, and trying to figure out for ourselves who we want the 49ers to pick. And so we feel like we've put in the work and we want to be rewarded for that work by them picking someone we know. That is a completely fair reaction to have. I completely understand that. And I completely understand feelings of frustration and feelings that it was a disaster and that they reached and all of that. And you may be right, but we don't know yet. Benjamin says, guys, all of you late to the thread trying to announce the Dee Winters trade. Thanks, but you're late. Yes, we did talk about it. Dee Winters to the Cowboys for a 5th-round pick. I'd heard that they were shopping a few guys. I'd heard they were shopping Dee Winters. I'd heard they were shopping Ricky Pearsall. I'd heard they were shopping Renardo Green. Okay. The Detroit Lions drafted Michigan defensive end Derek Moore. Ooh, that's interesting. Pair him with Aiden Hutchinson. There you go. So, yeah, again, the Stribling stuff, still a lot of people upset, a lot of people unhappy. Kayvon Thibodeau on Instagram just tweeted or just posted a picture of Paul Walker with the caption, "Goodbye." A lot of people think he was going to get traded. Jordan Schultz had a tweet that they've engaged in trade discussions with the Saints. I thought the 49ers might have been interested in Kayvon Thibodeau. Jason Aponte has weighed in. He agrees with a lot of you. Says the player isn't the problem. The spot is. The Niners could have easily had a combo of Besantis and Stribling, Emmanuel McNeil Warren and Stribling, or Zion or Howell and Stribling. There's your way too early 49ers draft pick, and it's probably not going to be the last this weekend. At least they didn't take a kicker. Maybe is that where we are on the coping scale? A lot of people not happy that the 49ers are trading Greenlaw to the Cowboys. I just think that if you know you're not going to pay Greenlaw and you can get a 5th round pick for him, that's probably why they did that. Kurtenbach says the 49ers did everything they could. Here, let me just throw it up on the screen. The 49ers did everything they could not to play Dee Winters last year. They had to play him anyway, and every week his stock went down. Big stuff and little stuff, like not knowing the damn plays in December. Honestly surprised they got anything for him. Ooh. Okay. That is a bit of a harsh assessment, but also I trust Dieter, and it's probably a little bit true. We waited a long time to get to see Dee Winters. He flashed some, but he made a lot of mistakes as well. So I could understand that. And again, I think it's more about just getting value for a guy that you knew wasn't going to be part of your future. Just like when they traded Jordan Mason, I was on board with that because it's about what is their future here and what can we get for them. And if what you can get for them outweighs what their future is here, you make the move. Oh my God, I'm seeing pictures of Stribling's uncle, Don the Rock Morocco. Holy God, that guy was huge. Look at this. Massive. I didn't realize he was a Hall of Famer also. If he's anything like that, geez. The guy was a friggin' mountain. Let's see. Let's read some more reaction from Twitter around the Stribling pick. Or maybe I haven't actually read this tweet. Let's see. Shanahan said Greenlaw would start at will, but it's not just the addition of Greenlaw. Winters was entering the final year of his contract. Winters could be fighting for that role. Nick Martin flourished in college, rushing the passer. Martin is cheaper and for longer. That's the analysis of the Dee Winters trade. You know, when a team trades a guy that you know, sometimes I think people generally automatically assume maybe it's not necessarily a good pick. Like I said, Winters was like one of our guys, right? We waited for him for years, and then he finally stepped up and got to play, and we saw flashes, and then he would get hurt, and finally he's on the field, and he looked good at certain times, and so you want to believe, right? You always want to believe in the guys that your team picks, right? They're your guys. They're our guys. They're part of us. So Josiah Trotter got picked by the Bucks. Okay. You always want to believe that. But the more I think about the Dee Winters move, and I forgot about Tatum Bethune actually being on the roster for a second as I'm trying to host this thing live, I think I can get behind it. I think it makes sense, even with Dre Greenlaw's spotty injury history. Oh, the Ravens got Zion Young. Oh, my God. How do these guys always freaking fall to the Ravens? I feel like the Ravens just sit around and wait for a player to drop because there's always one every year, and it goes to him. Con JKJ says Fred getting hurt really threw off the whole linebacker core. I think it threw off the whole defense, by the way, because it wasn't just, yes, obviously you miss him for the linebackers, but Fred was such a good communicator and leader on defense. How many times did we see before a play started, Fred talking to one linebacker on one side, talking to the other, talking to the safeties, pointing things out to the safeties? Fred got everybody in line. He got all the ducks in a row. And when they lost him, they lost that. And I think it hurt, especially because there were communication issues in the secondary as well. And you could see there were busts, there were screw ups all over the place. Coaches could only do so much. They lost a lot when Fred Warner went down. A lot. Having him back, and now also having him with Dre Greenlaw, with the way he's talked about how they actually don't have to communicate that much on the field because each one just knows what the other one is going to do and where they're going to be, and they have confidence in each other that they know what's going on, is massive. It'll be a massive boost for this defense. Again, not to mention the return of Nick Bosa and Michael Williams and Alfred Collins, all from surgery. Mr. Matty, that dude, says, do we think Stribling returns kicks? You called him Strib. I kind of like that, actually, as a nickname. That's not bad. I don't know. He's got speed. They should give him a shot because they really don't have anybody else for that role right now. You know, they lost Sky Moore, which I'm still bummed about because I loved having an actual threat as a returner. So that job is open for sure. They gave it to Garendo last year, and he stunk at it. I don't even want Isaac Garendo on the team, quite honestly. So I would give him a shot at it. Let's see. You know, if his best attribute is straight line speed, you would think that that could play well as a kick returner, although it didn't for Isaac Garendo. Give him a shot. Fino says, I now like the pick because of the nickname Strip. See, there you go. There you go. Collared Apron says, a souped up version of Juwan Jennings sounds interesting. The Steelers have just traded up with the Colts at 47. I wonder if the Steelers are going to get a quarterback here. That would be interesting. Apparently, the league also announced that the Cowboys are going to play in Rio. Yay. Kawakami points out that other than Warner and Greenlaw, the Niners have Wallow, Gifford, and Nick Martin with Bethune as the backup middle linebacker. That's a lot of depth. That's true. Sorry, just scanning here. Barrows has an article already. Let's check out Barrows' article on Stribling. Here, let me bring it up here. We can read it together. Barrows writes, Stribling is the second burner from Ole Miss the Niners have taken in as many years. Last year, they used the fourth on Jordan Watkins. Yes, we know. Okay, that's just tweeting out his stats. That's just tweeting out the Dane Brugler stuff. Scott Dochterman, I don't even know who that is, grades the pick. Let's see. The Niners should have looked to edge. That's not a knock on Stribling. But the Niners won't compete for a Super Bowl without a better pass rush. But again, they have other picks to make the pass rush. He averaged 7.3 yards after catch last year. His ability to maintain that speed after the catch, an asset in the passing attack that is heavy on crossing patterns and throws over the middle. That's what Barrow said. All right, this is not exactly the most illuminating article. Shanahan is not afraid to go against conventional thinking when it comes to receivers, having done so with Pettis in round 2, Pearsall in round 1, and now Stribling. The Ole Miss receiver checks a lot of boxes for Shanahan. He stood out for his blocking in college, which suggests a certain toughness that Shanahan covets more than any other trait in his receivers. That ruggedness in combination with elite speed was too intriguing for the 49ers head coach to pass up. Oh, Pittsburgh went with Jeremy Bernard. Jacob Rodriguez went to the Dolphins. Okay, Zion Young, Josiah Trotter. Jeremy Bernard went to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So now the Falcons are on the clock at pick 16, followed by the Vikings, the Jets, Panthers, Packers, Colts. We're getting down to the 49ers pick. I think what I'm going to do here after the 49ers make a pick, I might grab a drink, take a little break, and come back when the 49ers are closer to more picks in round 3. Bo Adams says, everyone's forgetting the Bosa-Osa team up. That is true. You know, the 49ers, it's very reasonable for the 49ers to argue our pass rush is going to be better just because of the returns and because of the addition of Osa Odigizua. And you have to include Osa in this draft class because they traded a 3rd-round pick to get him. So you're adding a guy at defensive tackle that can be a disruptor. You're adding a potential defensive player of the year in Nick Bosa. Now, again, you don't know if Bosa is going to be Bosa because this is ACL tear number 3, and he's not 25 years old anymore. So that's a that's a wait and see, but potentially, he's certainly, even a diminished Nick Bosa is certainly going to be light years better than anything they had coming off the edge last year. Michael Williams is coming back. Alfred Collins is coming back from shoulder and surgery. CJ West is in year 2. They can reasonably argue that their pass rush is going to be better, and so that edge wasn't necessarily as big a need as maybe we thought. And that's why they waited. Plus, this draft is deep at edge. So they probably thought if there's more edge guys there that we like, one of them will be there when we pick at 58. I'm seeing some of the grades the 49ers are getting for Stribling. D-. That's not a grade that they give out to just anybody. They don't give them out all the time. I'm seeing if there's anything else illuminating here from the 49ers beat. The Cowboys are sending pick number 152 to the 49ers for Dee Winters. So that is the pick. That would be, I don't know what pick that is in the 5th round. Let's see if I can find that. Nope. Oh, here we go. Teams. That would be pick 12 in round 5. So now they have 2 5th-round picks. I keep telling you the guy I want them to take is Eli Heidenreich. He's probably going to be like a 5th-round pick. I love him. He's like a running back, like just a little scat back type of person. And I didn't know if they'd be able to get him because they didn't have a pick in the 5th round, and now they do. So yes, please. The 49ers haven't drafted a draft crush of mine in a long time. I can't even remember the last time they did it. So that would be nice. Bo Adams says D stands for damn good. He'll adapt to reading says another awful draft, tired man. They've only made one of their picks. We got to see the whole picture before we judge it. Don't judge it. Even if you think this was a terrible pick, okay. But they still have, now what do they have? 7 more now after this? B Mills is the man, says you need depth on the D line. Yes, you do. Absolutely. They should add somebody at defensive line at some point before the end of the draft. Do they necessarily have to go now? I don't know. 415 Faithful says, where's your son, Rob? Let him stream. He's actually at a school. He had a school function tonight, so he couldn't be here. I will tell him that they drafted this guy, and he's going to say, is he good? And I'm going to say, I don't know. But I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go to YouTube, and we're going to watch the highlights together. That's the first thing he's going to want to do when he gets home. Fino says, I think the pass rush will be fine considering the Osa pickup, and we don't even have Bosa and Michael for half the year. Well, they're saying Bosa is going to be back for week 1. And remember, he tore his ACL. I think it was week 3, I want to say. He tore it, or maybe it was week 2, early in the year. Michael tore it like halfway through the year. I think it was game 9. So he's going to be back later. But Bosa, I think, should be back. Cody Melthrader says, I wouldn't be surprised if we trade up with those 5th-round picks sometime. I wouldn't be shocked either, honestly, just because of the amount of picks they have. If you're the 49ers, you have a pick in round 2 at 58. You have pick 90 in the 3rd. Then you have 127, 133, 139, 152, 179. If there's another guy that you want in round 3, and maybe you package a bunch of those together and you move up and you have multiple 2nd-round picks and multiple 3rd-round picks. The Falcons just took Avion Terrell. Don't they have 2 corners now with the last name Terrell? Are they related? Is that a thing? Am I losing my mind? But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they traded up. Greg Sanchez says, we need to replace Burford, and he was a 4th-rounder. True. Maybe they'll take another 4th-round guard. Sorry, I'm just reading some of the reaction. Oh, 49ers fans. What would have made you the most happy? Would it have been sticking and picking Omar Cooper? He was kind of a guy that I wanted them to take yesterday. I was a little bummed about that. Yeah, Vish says Pregnon is a good guard. Let's see if he falls more. I'm kind of surprised he's still on the board, to be honest with you, because he was a guy that a lot of people were high on. But here's the thing, you can get good guards later on in the draft. If you go and look at, I was checking this out a while before the draft, sort of in preparation. If you go and look at the best interior offensive lineman, or the highest paid, let's say, there is a huge spread of where they were picked. Some were picked early for sure, like Quentin Nelson of the Colts, just monster, picked early, is a monster, is phenomenal. But a lot of them came in the 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round. So you can wait and get a really good impact player at that position later on in the draft. And, not for nothing, but 63% of the active players in the NFL last year were drafted on day 3 or undrafted. 63%. So the majority of players that were active in the NFL last year were day 3 picks or undrafted picks. So yes, there's definite value in those rounds. Doesn't guarantee anything, obviously, but it is a little reassuring. Let me make sure I haven't missed any picks. Now there's a giant spider in the studio. That's great. Terrified of spiders, by the way. So I just want you all to know I played that super cool. That is not me. If I was not live streaming, I would run across the room. Chris Waddell says, late to the party, but what the bleep? First time I'm ready for Lynch to go. I swear the draft every year feels like they are guessing. Give us a real GM, please. Can we see the guy play before we want to fire John Lynch for picking him? Damn, let's see this guy on the field before we automatically fire the general manager. By the way, there's more than 1,500 people watching right now. Thank you so much, everybody, for spending some of your draft night with me. Like this channel, subscribe to the channel. We're live every single weekday. We have an audio-only podcast as well that has a 49ers in 5 news update every single weekday with interviews, press conference clips, injury reports during the season. It's everything you need to know in 5 minutes or less. Please subscribe and follow there as well. Watch us both places. I promise if you watch our coverage, you will like what you see. Normally, I have a different partner every day. Sort of a weird situation this year with the draft where everybody was unfortunately unavailable. So that's why I'm flying solo for so much of this. I think Michelle Majuk is going to come on later. She hosts a show with me on Fridays. She also hosts the Analyst in the Armchair podcast and the Locked On Fantasy podcast. So hopefully she'll be able to hop on as well. Brisbee Life says, afraid of spiders. Now the shoes on in the house thing makes more sense. You know what? That's part of it. I need to be able to defend myself against invasion. All right. So you got to have shoes on at all times. When those spiders are there, you got to be quick. Someone said in the chat, what if he becomes the next Debo and they had intel that another team wanted him before the next pick? Again, we don't know. Let's see. Beats Rhymes Aloha says, Stribling played big in the college playoffs last year. That's something. His combine must have been solid also. Benjamin says, afraid of spiders means Stats isn't going to Australia. 1,000%. Have you seen the monsters they have lurking there? That island is full of things that want to kill us. I am not going there. 0 chance that I am going there. Greg Sanchez says, all right, who are we getting at number 58? Well, who do you want them to get? I feel like people want them to go either guard or edge. That's sort of the prevailing wisdom there of who people want the 49ers to take. Let me just do a quick look. Let's see. No. Okay, here we go. Wow, Jermon McCoy's still there. A lot of people thought he could go in the first round. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren is still there. I know he's a safety. Eli Stowers is still there. Gabe Akis, the pass rusher from Illinois, is still on the board. Emmanuel Pregnon, who we talked about from Georgia, the guard, is still there. Jennings Dunker, the guy with the monstrous red mullet that everybody was watching from Iowa, the offensive lineman, he's still on the board as well. Malachi Fields is still there, but obviously the Niners just took a wide receiver, so that would be unlikely. Elijah Surratt is still there. There's seemingly a lot of good players. The tackles are kind of picked over. I know Jennings Dunker is listed as a tackle, but he's kind of, I think they see him more as a guard. Isaiah World from Oregon is a guy that could be really good, has good skills, but he's coming off an ACL, so he'd basically have to redshirt the whole year. But he's the guy that, potentially the Niners could take a flyer on if they wanted to do that. Who else is there at guard? Brian Parker's still there from Duke. He's a guy that a lot of people like. Bo Stevens, another offensive lineman from Iowa. He is still on the board there. I don't know. I think there's only been like 1 or 2 centers picked. Jake Slaughter is still there from Florida. Logan Jones, another Iowa offensive lineman. How good is Iowa's freaking offensive lineman? They're going to have 3 offensive linemen picked. Trey Zune from Texas A&M is a center. Parker Brailsford is a guy we looked at on the channel. He's kind of built like a fire hydrant. He's not a very big guy, but he's another option at offensive line if that's where they want to go. People in the chat, they want Emmanuel McNeil Warren or Kilgore or CJ Allen, please. Is Keontae Scott a safety still available? I don't know. I haven't been following the picks as closely. Let me look. Bud Clark is still available. He's another good safety. I don't see Scott up there, so I'm going to say he is not available. Let me just take a drink here. Not going to lie, starting to lose my voice a little bit. Let's check the old 49ers beat. Is there an issue? We don't know. Okay, this is a good tweet. See, this is why I like Dieter Kurtenbach. I like just the no-nonsense honesty from him. Someone asked, is there an issue with Emmanuel McNeil Warren we don't know about? And his response was, his tape. Okay, that's funny. That's a funny tweet. But again, I think it's a case of how many of us have actually spent time watching Emmanuel McNeil Warren? Have we really spent time watching it? And number 2, if we have, do we know what we're watching when we watch a safety tape? It's not just as simple as, did he make an interception? Did he not make an interception? Was he the closest guy to the receiver that caught the ball? It doesn't necessarily tell you that he screwed up or it was his fault, right? You have to know what you're watching. You have to know what the assignment was. And I'm not saying he's a good player or a bad player. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying when we talk about why we like or don't like picks, how many of us have actually done our own research, so to speak? Let's see. The Niners, David Lombardi reports the Niners open up $3.7 million of cap space by trading Dee Winters to Dallas. For what it's worth, the Niners also restructured Odighizuwa's deal to free up a bunch of cap space as well. I know people thought that maybe that would signal that they had some sort of big move plan. I think it's more that they love to roll over cap space to the following season. And it's something they've done consistently. So I would not be shocked if they did it again. So I think that's more what it is. Also, nobody wanted to say it because of the players the 49ers brought in the offseason, but they went cheap again this offseason, right? They got Mike Evans on a very cheap deal. They got Christian Kirk on a very cheap deal. Osa Odighizuwa, because of the Cowboy situation, was not breaking the bank for them. They got much better players this offseason, but they didn't really spend a ton of money, which is a great combination. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to knock them for getting players on good deals. I'm just saying in terms of the money that they doled out, they didn't really spend big. This is kind of the second straight offseason where the 49ers have not spent that big in free agency. It's flown much more under the radar this year because of the players that they got. But that is a true statement. And just flat out spending money is not necessarily the solution either. Obviously, you want good players, and that's what the 49ers got this offseason. So that's good. Apparently, Dazon Stribling's dad was in the Marines for 17 years, and an NFL scout said this of his son to Dane Brugler. He's got that Hawaii chill, kind of quiet, but trains like he's a Marine. Priorities are in order. I like hearing that. There's an old saying in NFL circles that talent is the floor for a player and work ethic is the ceiling. And if that's the case, we've seen the physical traits are there with Stribling. And if he's got that kind of work ethic, then he can hopefully maximize his ability. Vic Tafer says the 49ers were unwilling to ride the wave and see if Stribling would still be there if they traded down again. There he is. He must be in Hawaii. He's got the lei on, looking good. That is, that's another layer to this, right? We know that the 49ers were getting calls to trade down again. So they had offers. They decided not to take those offers number one and then to take Stribling number two, who, if you think he was overdrafted, that is a double whammy. That is a double punch to the gut, right? Because it's like you had offers. You could have taken this guy later and you had offers to trade down. Now, maybe they were trading down beyond 58, and so that's why they didn't do it. And we don't know what those offers are, and they probably will never tell us. But it'll be interesting to see what they say afterwards. Chris Waddell says, my take isn't just the wide receiver. It's Dee Winters. It's Pearsall. Also, every year, we always feel like a force or a reach. Obviously, no expert, just what it seems. Look, they do have a history of reaching on guys. That is a real thing. Nick Martin, nobody thought Nick Martin should get drafted where he was drafted. That was a reach. Everybody said that. I didn't see really one person defending the Nick Martin pick. Trey Lance, some people thought he had no business being taken third overall. I'm not saying the 49ers don't reach, but I think that you have to wait and see how good the player is before you can decide if it was a reach, right? What if Stribling is awesome? No one's going to say then it was a reach. Ted Wynn of The Athletic. Is this? I forgot if. Oh, no, I didn't put it on the screen. Ted Wynn of The Athletic says, wow, Stribling is an awesome/perfect replacement for Juwan Jennings. Good blocker, physical pass catcher. No wonder the 49ers wanted to keep trading back. Really good after the catch, average 7.3 yards per catch, which was more than Omar Cooper. No wonder the 49ers wanted to keep trading back. I'm confused then. Oh, maybe because they were like, if they were always going to take this guy, they knew they could get him later. Yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see what Kyle and John say afterwards. Now obviously they're not going to be like, well, we really didn't want to take him, but we just didn't get a good enough offer. They're never going to say that. But here's the weird thing with John Lynch. Every once in a while, you get a shred of unvarnished, complete truth from John Lynch. And he did it again yesterday. When he was asked on KMBR yesterday about the Rams taking Ty Simpson, here's what he said.
Respect to them. They're a really well-run organization. They do things well, and they made a pick that surprised a lot of people. But we'll leave it at that.
That is as honest as you could be. That is as close as any team is going to come to publicly saying, what the hell were they doing, right? Every once in a while, John Lynch gives you that unvarnished truth. Now, look, you could say the same thing about the 49ers, right? Maybe the Rams are looking at the 49ers and they're laughing all the way to the bank too. And then the Rams got a Super Bowl trophy that the 49ers don't have. So if anybody can laugh at anybody, it's the Rams over the 49ers. Vish says, John had a slight smile on his face too. Yep, absolutely. He did in the press conference too with the media, separate from that interview on KMBR as well. Anthony Nagatani with a tremendous super chat. That's very generous. Thank you so much, Anthony. He says, this is a big deal for the Hawaii media market. Rams have been trying to steal it from the 49ers, and the Rams truly coveted Stribling. This is a wonderful double whammy against the rivals. Stribling looks good to me. Okay, so you're saying Stribling is from Hawaii, and so that the 49ers taking him will help them in that market? I really hope, no disrespect to Hawaii or anybody, but I hope that they are not considering market size when they pick people. I really, really hope that is the case, just because they should only be picking people based on football reasons, not anything else, not because I have any issue with Hawaii or anything like that. If that is really entering into their thinking, I think that they are really outthinking themselves. But who knows? But I really do appreciate the super chat, Anthony. Are you from Hawaii? Is that how you know this, Anthony? Let's see. Mr. I don't even know how to say that. I apologize. Mr. Say USA says, the study cited by Hogshaven says that during the John Lynch, Adam Peters era, 26 of 58 49ers picks, which is basically 45%, qualified as reaches against the consensus draft board, making them the reachiest team. Okay. Oh, Anthony is from Hawaii. There you go. Wedge Antilli says, how many Pro Bowlers have the 49ers drafted compared to other GMs with the same amount of time years? How many Pro Bowlers or how many Pro Bowls? That'd be the question I would want to know. It's certainly a mixed bag with the draft. We all know this. I don't have to say the names. You all know the names. You're watching this stream, so you know them. But again, unexpected doesn't necessarily mean bad. It's frustrating on draft night. I get that. And it may be bad. I'm not saying that it won't be, but it doesn't guarantee it. Ethan Parrish says, just getting here. How's the draft so far? Well, the 49ers picked a guy that no one's ever heard of, and they traded Dee Winters to the Cowboys for a 5th-round pick. Excuse me. That's your draft summary so far. Whether you think that's good or bad, don't know, but that's the draft summary. Where are we so far in round 2? Spencer Fauno is gone. Jordan Tyson is gone. Oh, we knew all. What am I saying? Let me get to the second round here. Come on. Where's my draft tracker? Round 2, please. Okay. Terrell went to the Falcons. Lee Hunter went to the Panthers. D'Angelo Pons, the corner from Indiana, went to the Jets. And Jake Golday, the linebacker from Cincinnati, went to the Minnesota Vikings. So we are on pick 20 right now. Packers on the clock. The pick is in. They went with Brandon Sissy, I think, the corner. So that would put the Eagles on the clock at 22. I loved seeing all the intrigue or kind of behind the scenes stuff with the Eagles and the Cowboys and the Steelers about Mekhi Lemon. Steelers literally thought they were drafting him. They called him to say they were drafting him. Dallas somehow got wind of that. And remember, Dallas was coached by Mike McCarthy, who's now the head coach in Pittsburgh. They're sure there was some conversations maybe on the staff. Somebody leaked something, and I don't know what happened, but somehow the Cowboys got word that Lemon was going to be the pick. They call up the Eagles. They say, hey, the Steelers are getting Lemon. If you want him, give us a couple 4th-round picks, and we'll let you swoop in and take them. That is exactly what happened. So, bam, Philly gets Mekhi Lemon. The Cowboys pick up extra picks, and the Steelers are left out in the cold. And apparently the Steelers kind of panicked and ended up taking Max Ihanachor, and really they were kind of caught off guard by the whole thing, apparently. So not a good look for Mike McCarthy in his first time there. Howie Roseman doing Howie Roseman things. And they are going to be on the clock after this at 22 here in round 2. So that's not a good look. It could be worse if you're the 49ers, right? Like the Steelers not knowing what they're doing and then freaking out and making a pick in round 1 like it's your fantasy draft is not a good look, especially in year 1 of a new regime. Patrick Lucero says Philly is going to get the guard. Watch. They do like to take their offensive linemen. Diabetic Survivor says Dieter and Hutch mentioned on their live reaction to the pick that Stribling was a late riser in the draft, and that's why he's a 7th. But Dieter said it was a C+, B-. Still not a great grade for the first pick. He would like universal A's, but I was right. The Falcons do have 2 Terrells on the team. All right, good. I'm not crazy. Daniel Garcia asks, with the cap that they opened up, are they trading for Jonathan Grenard? I had read that the Eagles were the ones trading for Grenard and that it was basically a done deal. Now, we haven't seen that yet. I don't know, but what I heard that was that Philly was going to get him. Ethan Parrish says, the Dee Winters move is hard to take for me. Hopefully that means Nick Martin is full go. Yeah, we talked about it. I think it's more about the fact that they were never going to pay him. His future with the organization was going to be up after this year, and they got offered a 5th-round pick for him, so they took it, right? If you have an asset that you're not going to keep, why not get an asset in return for it? Michelle just texted me, I love Howie Roseman. So obviously Howie Roseman just picked somebody that she likes. I don't know what the Eagles did. Michelle gets obviously the heads up because she's a researcher for ESPN NFL Network. Sanchez says Stribling is very fast. We have been needing speed. Might even be a good special teams return guy. You know, I do think it's funny, right? Kyle Shanahan says after the season, we need to get faster, definitely. And everybody acknowledges how slow the 49ers were last year. And then they sign Mike Evans, and people say, well, I thought you said you needed to get younger and faster. What the hell? And then they draft a really fast guy, and people are like, oh, a terrible pick. I do think part of him has to be like, what the hell, man? Why can't we catch a break? You know, we're sort of damned if we do, damned if we don't. Fino says Roseman has been in a league of his own when it comes to drafting. Yeah, he's made a ton of picks. He's made a ton of good picks, excuse me. Not perfect, though. He's made some bad picks as well. We can acknowledge that. I have no idea what they did. Where are we? And I feel like I'm behind between my phone and the ESPN broadcast. The Colts at 53 picked CJ Allen. The Patriots are on the clock at 55. Okay, what happened at 54? We're skipping all over the place here. I really do think that the move from 10 minutes to 8 minutes in the first round messed with ESPN a lot. I do think that. All right, as we close in on the 49ers picks, I just want to take a second to acknowledge Prize Picks, our presenting sponsor. Thank you very much, Prize Picks. If you haven't checked them out yet, please do so. Join the millions of users and sign up for America's #1 sports pick app for daily fantasy player projections and lineups. It's daily fantasy made simple. You just pick more or less on your favorite players' projections, and you can build a lineup in a few taps. And this is a great time to get involved now because of all the sports going on. Obviously, the NFL draft, Major League Baseball, NBA playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs. And you can mix and match your lineup. You don't have to stick to one sport. You can go all over the board. It's a sports buffet, is what I like to say. Who doesn't like a good buffet? A good buffet, not a crappy one. I'm talking about a high-quality buffet is outstanding. You get a little bit of everything, and you're going up for multiple plates too. I always do multiple plates. You got to plan your attack plan. You go one type of food for the first trip, second type of trip, you go another type. Then you get like your salad at the end. I always go salad at the end of the meal. And then maybe dessert. I'm not a big dessert guy, but you can go up a fourth time and get your dessert if you want to. Buffets, underrated. If the food quality is good, buffet is very underrated. Prize Picks is not underrated. You should go and check it out right now because they are the absolute best. Again, America's #1 sports pick app for daily projections and lineups. They have early payouts. If you pick more on somebody and they hit it right away in the first quarter of the first half, bam, you can cash out before the game is even over. If you pick more on somebody and they get hurt in the first quarter, guess what? Your pick is protected. You don't just miss out on that. That is a feature that 49ers fans should be especially interested in given the history there. And if you want to follow people, you can do that as well. I'm on there at Stats on Fire, just like I am on all social media. You can follow people and find a real community as well. So make sure Prize Picks is available in your state. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, we are rolling on, and Philly took Eli Stowers, the tight end from Vanderbilt, who is a freaking athletic marvel. He doesn't block worth a damn. So if you're asking him to do that, he's not going to do it. But my God, is he a physical mismatch for people. Almost 6'4", 239 pounds, ran a 4.51 40-yard dash. He is explosive as a tight end. Dane Brugler says he will need to prove himself as a serviceable blocker at the NFL level, but he's explosive as a pass catcher, and I love the way he maximizes his catch radius. He has mismatch creating potential and can eventually develop into an NFL starter. We know they love throwing to the tight end in Philadelphia. They absolutely love it. Dallas Goedert is still there, but I think that they were trying to replenish that position a little bit. I could see him as a weapon, perhaps in the red zone as well for the Eagles. So I know that was the guy that Michelle was desperately hoping that the 49ers took. Obviously, they didn't. But it's a guy we're going to see. I think the Eagles have had a good draft so far. I think the Giants have had an excellent draft so far. And that's a team, obviously, that we're going to see, unfortunately, because we got to go back to that damn field. But I really think the Giants have had an excellent, excellent draft. I'm trying to pull that up on the screen. Oh, here we go. Okay. Sorry, I had to zoom out a little bit to see where I'm going. But obviously, they get Arvell Reese in round 1. They get the offensive tackle from Miami, whose name I can't pronounce. I should have. I had it in front of me a minute ago, but I don't have it now. Forgive me for that. But he was what a lot of people said was the best tackle in the draft. They get him at 10, and then they take Colton Hood, one of the best corners in the draft, in round 2. You got to like what the Giants are putting together. I really like their offense. If they can get Neighbors back healthy and Scatteraboo back healthy, you've got Jackson Dart there as well. I really think the Giants are going to be a problem in the NFC, assuming Jackson Dart can play without getting his head, smashed in, which I guess remains to be seen, quite honestly, because he certainly doesn't seem interested in changing his play style. But if he can, I really like what the Giants are putting together, and we're obviously going to see them and may see them again in the playoffs. Cassio89 says we won't have the league's weakest schedule this season. They didn't have the league's weakest schedule this season. That's the thing. It looked like it was going to be the weakest schedule in May when it came out. But in terms of what actually happened on the field last year, it was middle of the pack. So again, we have to acknowledge that there's a difference there, right? Those what we think are the weak schedules that come out in May when the schedule is released is not what actually takes place on the field necessarily. And that's, if you look at how it actually broke down and how the teams did and played, the 49ers had a middle of the road schedule last year. And they're going to have a third place schedule this year too, obviously, because they finished behind the Seahawks and Rams in the NFC West. All right. Jesse says, we need a tight end as strong as Rob's hair, standing strong. Yeah, there's a little product in it, not going to lie. It's not like stiff as a board, though. There's a little product. Look, when you got as little hair as I do, it's thinning out up there. You got to add some product. Some days I need a little help. I'm going to be on camera for 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is. Forgive me. I put a little product in. I'm trying to look good here for you. All right? That's what I'm doing here. It's bad enough you got to stare at this mug for this long. I might as well try to make it look, a little better. Patrick Lucero says the Patriots had a weak schedule. All right. Now we're getting calls for punters and specialists in the chat. Come on, people. Bo Adams says, I'm looking forward to the next 49ers pick and watching Chris Waddell melt down. LEK says the Niners need a Charlie Warner type blocking tight end, maybe one of the fits. They thought they had a blocking tight end. They were supposed to have a blocking tight end when they signed Luke Farrell. That was his only job. His only job with the 49ers was to block. That was what he was supposed to do. And then he got here and it turns out he can't block. And usually what I say is where you miss in the draft, you pay in free agency, right? If Stribling stinks and Mike Evans is gone and Christian Kirk is gone and Ricky Pearsall maybe is, not sticking around, and then all of a sudden the 49ers have to go out in free agency and pay the market rate to bring somebody in because they missed on Watkins and Stribling and Cowing in the draft. That's generally what happens. But when you miss in the draft, like the 49ers did on Cam Latu and Braden Willis, and when you miss in free agency, like the 49ers did with Luke Farrell, then you just have a hole. That's how you just have a hole on your roster. And that's why the 49ers don't have a blocking tight end. I like Jake Tonjes. I think he's a fun player. He's not a blocking tight end. He's a receiving tight end. They don't have a blocking tight end, and they've invested a lot of resources to try and find one, and they cannot do it, seemingly. They continue to struggle to find. George Kittle is the only good tight end this team has ever drafted. And they drafted him in the 5th round, and they only drafted him because they missed out on Gerald Everett, who the Rams took earlier in the draft. So I don't want to say they lucked into Kittle because they obviously picked him, and they deserve credit for it. Well, it looks like the Patriots just took Gabe Akers, the pass rusher from Illinois. Bummer. That would have been a nice pickup for the 49ers. But yeah, so that's how you end up with holes on your roster when you miss in the draft and you miss in free agency. And as much as people talk about the 49ers draft misses, and obviously they have had some, they've had a lot of free agency misses too. A lot of free agency misses. Isaiah Oliver was terrible. Chase Lucas was not very good. Quan Alexander was a disaster. He was earlier in the regime. Jet McKinnon, now he tore his ACL. He got hurt, so he may have ended up being a better player, but they paid him a lot of money. That didn't work out as well. They've had some good free agent signings, like Travarius Ward was phenomenal, a phenomenal signing. To Sean Gibson was a great signing at safety. Didn't cost them much, but he ended up playing great for them. So they've had some, but the free agency misses, those really hurt because you've seen those guys play in the NFL against NFL talent. And if you still misevaluate them, that's kind of damning, in my opinion. Chris Whitell says, I'll melt down with my $5 all I want. I will say that Stribling is a hands catcher, ran a lot of hitches, and goes last year as well. Look, Chris, I have no problem. You want to melt down. Every time you do, you send a super chat. I appreciate that. I'm grateful for it. Thank you. Feel free to melt down. Feel free. Rick says McKinnon was a huge miss. Weston Richburg was pretty good. That's true. He was good until he got hurt, but he was playing really, really well in the 49ers and his defense. The Patriots traded up 3 spots before the 49ers to steal Cam Edmonds' draft crush, Gabe Akis, the 11th defensive end, off the board. Also out of the 49ers' grasp is Jonathan Grenard, who the Vikings are dealing to the Eagles for 2 third-rounders. Okay, so that became official that the Vikings are going to get 2 third-round picks for Jonathan Grenard. Damn, the Eagles are having a good day. How about this? I don't know if this is going to be a thing. Jeff Deeney says 3rd and Dazon, or Dazon. I think it's Dazon. 3rd and Dazon. Dazon Stribling caught 61% of his third down targets over his collegiate career while averaging 13.8 yards per reception on third down. It's not bad. Between that and Strib as a nickname, I think he's winning over 49ers fans. Perfect Blackness says, don't be surprised to see a kicker at 58. You know, you joke, but they did do a little pre-draft homework on a kicker. So you never know. I think that's what we've seen with the 49ers in this regime. You never know. All right, so where are we right now in the second round? The Bears are, the pick is in. So the 49ers are coming up here at 26. They've already taken a wide receiver, so your head can't explode about that. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren still on the board. If you want him, if you want safety, he is still there. Jermon McCoy is still there, the corner from Tennessee. Chris Bratler, they're not going to take a wide receiver. Emmanuel Pregnon, the guard from Oregon, still there. Keontae Scott, the corner from Miami, is still there. Jennings Dunker is there. There are people that the 49ers, that would satisfy 49ers fans, I should say, on the board. Now, obviously, the Bears still have to make their pick. I didn't see. Bo Adams says, I'll cover Chris's next 4 meltdowns. Thank Bo. That's an incredible super chat. Thank you so much. But don't do that. Chris, don't feel like you shouldn't melt down. Feel free to melt down. Okay. I want to make that clear. But thank you, Bo Adams. I really do appreciate that. Thank you to all our YouTube channel members, everybody that gives a super chat. I'm so appreciative of it. There's a reason I don't, I let everybody comment. You don't have to give a super chat to comment because I just appreciate the fact that you're sharing your time with me. But anything that you could give, I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Especially because usually I'm with a co-host and they get all the super chats. So I actually get to keep these. So hooray, go me. People are rooting for Pregnon or Payne. I think Payne could be later, but safety is a pick that people want. People say Pregnon over Dunker. Jay says, McNeil-Warren fell this far just so the Niners could not pick him and break my heart. Grenard is, man, 2 third-round picks for Grenard. That's not that much. That would have been a nice pickup. I wonder if Kayvon Thibodeau is going to go for that much, or if the Giants were just sort of waiting to see what Grenard would go for so they could judge Thibodeau. We'll see. King Jedi 49, thank you very much for the donation. We appreciate that. Bo Adams says, now Stats can afford more hair product. All right, the hair product stuff, man, come on. Most of the time I don't even put anything in. Most of the time when I stream, I don't usually put anything, but I just got a haircut before the draft. I knew it was going to be a long show. I wanted to look a little bit nicer, so I put some product in. Guys are killing me. Of course, they go to commercial. I feel like they always go to commercial before the 49ers pick. Is that just me? B Mills is the man, says, just throwing some money out there for the best Niners pod there is. Thank you, B Mills. I appreciate that. Love you guys. Love you too. Thank you so much, everybody. I really do appreciate that. Almost 1,800 people watching. And by the way, we're streaming to 3 different places. So when I give that number, it's not just YouTube, it's other places as well. Jason says Stats got that mousse going on. It's not mousse, it's pomade. If you must know. If you must know, it's pomade. Jesse says, Stats, you look bold and beautiful, brother. Thank you, Jesse. That's the kind of positivity we need, all right? If you're bummed the 49ers took Stribling, let's get a little more positivity in the chat. The second pick of the second round is coming up. Pick 26. We're still waiting on the Bears pick. I haven't seen it, if anybody has seen it. Nick Wagner says, Niners on the clock at 58. Edge rusher is a bit picked over, though still some notable names available, including Kieran Crawford, Jyshawn Barham, Romelo Height, among the others on the board. Yeah, okay, there's just people that are available that I already read. Dieter says, this draft turned into the we love them and we don't care what anyone else thinks portion, usually reserved for rounds 3 and beyond, at pick number 13, and has not let up since, as evidenced best by that Jags pick. He was tight end 17 on my board for whatever that's worth. That is Nate Bowricker or Borkircher. I'm not sure how you say his name, but yeah, he just went at pick 56. So, all right, the Bears pick is in. Let's see who it is. Come on, Bears. Don't let us down. Uh-oh, the 49ers are moving back. Oh, man. Every time we think we're in, the 49ers trade back, and this is just depressing. It's depressing. Can we just get players on the team? The Browns are on the clock at 58. The 49ers move back. Every time we think they're on the clock, they move back. They really don't like anybody. They are going to just frustrate everybody because it's like you trade back, and then the one guy that you picked is a guy that everybody thought you could have got later on in the draft. Michelle is frantically texting me, swearing about the 49ers. It's frustrating. Like, if you were going to keep trading back, then why do you keep trading for all these picks, right? Like, if you don't like these players that much, why are you trying to acquire extra 5th round picks? You don't like these guys. Oh God. All right. Let's see. John says, wow, pomade. This super chat is for mini stats. Brought you a drink after his bedtime. He did bring me a drink last night. Now there's nobody here because everybody's out of the house. And I'm running low, as you can see. I was waiting till after the 49ers made their pick to go get another drink, but I may have to do that as I'm definitely losing my voice. But thank you, everybody, so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. All right, let's check in here because I know there's been some commercials. So the 49ers trade out of the pick. Logan Jones, the center from Iowa, went at pick 57. Now the Browns are on the clock here at pick 58. Greg, you summed it up correctly. I just want to be awake when another pick happens. So I let me see if the 49ers traded pick 58 and 152, which is what they got from Dallas, to the Browns for pick 70 and pick 107. Are you telling me the 49ers are not going to pick another player till pick 70? Is that really where we are? Because I got to tell you, I don't know if I have it in me to keep going at this point. Yeah, they don't pick again till pick 70. And then they go 90, 107, 127, 133, 139, and 179. I got it. What are we doing? What are we doing? How many times are we going to trade down? You keep saying you don't like these guys, so then why are you picking later in the draft? Forget about the freaking value. Just pick a guy. Just pick a guy. Like, it doesn't matter if you pick this guy too high. And then the guy that you did pick, everyone says you reached on. So you weren't afraid to just pick a guy at that point. It's frustrating, man. I got to tell you, I'm really, really frustrated right now. Chris Waddell says, for a team that doesn't need any spots, they sure want 38 picks. That's a great point, Chris. John Lynch said, we glaring needs. It's like, all right, well, then what are you doing with all these picks? What are you doing with them? Where are these guys going to play if you don't have glaring needs? That's a great point, Chris. Call Harbaugh and offer the rest of the draft for Tibbs, for Kayvon Thibodeau, #frustrated. At this point, why not, right? You don't like these guys. That's what you have told us over and over and over again, is that you don't like these guys. So if that is, and that's fine, by the way, but if that is the case, at least try to get picks for next year. What good are they going to do? What good is pick 70 going to do you? Great, you've got pick 70 and pick 90 that you didn't have before. Great, but you think all the players that are there are not that good. And you could say, well, we like this guy at this spot, but not at this spot. Like, dude, just take him. Just take him. You're being way too cute. Red and Gold Blooded said, here's $4.99 to help you get through the next 12 picks until 70. It's crazy that, like, maybe that's their plan. Their plan is to just tease us and tease us and tease us so that when they actually do make a pick, we're like, you know what? I'm just glad they took somebody. Maybe that is the plan for the 49ers. Mark this down. That's what I'm saying. That is the plan for the 49ers. Just beat us into submission. And then we're just so grateful that we have someone to actually talk about and analyze that we don't even care who the player is. That is a galaxy brain pick right there. Con JKJ says, I don't understand the plan. They must hate everybody in the draft. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we are on the air for an hour and 55 minutes. They've made one pick. A lot of people wanted Emmanuel McNeil Warren. Oh, is that who Cleveland took? That would make sense. Clearly, the 49ers didn't want him. They had multiple cracks at him and didn't take it. Yeah, that's who they took. Marlon Klein, the tight end from Michigan, went to Houston after Cleveland. So Saleh is on the clock right now. And then it'll be Sean McVay's Rams. Maybe they'll take another quarterback. Broncos, Chargers, Seahawks. And we'll roll on here. That'll be the end of round 2. Julian says, they trade out and Cleveland takes my safety crush, McNeil. I hate this, and it's 2 a.m. here in the UK. Man, if you are in another country right now and you stayed up, shout out to Paul Hope, 49ers UK. I mean, yeah, you are devastated right now. You are like, I'm bleeding from my eyeballs. Just make a pick. They are not rewarding the international fans. Now, Sir Sparked says, McNeil Warren is the in-the-box safety we did not need. That's true. It does seem like they have a lot of those in-the-box safeties. They don't have a lot of safeties that can cover. Fyro Pyro says, if this is a sign of what's to come with Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, count me out. That's a good question. You know, I don't know how impactful he is, his voice in the draft. I have no idea. So I don't want to speculate on that. Dieter said, you know, back when he told us it was going to happen, you know, he said potentially he could have a big role down the line. I don't know how much of a role he's having right now. I don't want to just say it's all his fault. Like, I know a lot of, if you're frustrated, maybe you're looking for somebody to blame. We can't put it on Kwesi. You got to put it on Kyle and John, and mostly on Kyle because he's the one with the control. If Kyle Shanahan is saying, make a pick, and pounding the table, there's no way the Niners are trading down. So the buck stops with Kyle, in my opinion. If you're frustrated, you got to point your anger at him. Benjamin says, can the 49ers just trade all these picks for 2027 picks already? We know that's what they hope for. Yeah, like, and if they were getting 2027 picks, I would at least understand it, right? You're saying, hey, I'm not in love with anybody that's here. We think next year's draft is going to be much better. So we're going to take these assets and we're going to acquire picks that we think are actually going to help us a year from now. And that fits with a team that says we don't have a bunch of glaring needs, right? Great, I get it. That's not what they're doing, though. They're trading down and just acquiring more picks this year that they don't really want, because if they wanted them, they would have used them already. So that's why I don't quite understand the logic. But again, I don't want to just, blame Kwesi Adofo-Mensah because I don't know, and I don't think that's fair. And I try to be fair, even when I'm frustrated and emotional. Like, I try to think about things logically, and so I'm not going to just throw him under the bus. Dale says, I have never seen anything like this. Right. That's true. This comment says maybe they should just start forfeiting picks. If you forfeit your pick, you can pick any time, right? So like if you're on the clock and the pick goes by, other teams will try to get the picks in and hurry and rush to get it in, but you can still get your pick in at any time. Maybe that's what the 49ers should do. Bo Adams says, shout out to the European and Aussie fans hanging with us. Hell yeah, man. That is dedication. That is love right there. Look, I think if you're in London, you're 5 hours ahead, right? It's 9 p.m. East Coast time. That's what, 2 a.m. in the UK? That is brutal. Brett Davis, there you go. International fan, love it. Curtis Mason says, no weaknesses, same sorry ass O-line, 0 speed on defense or offense. Well, they just add, let's be fair. They say what you want about Stribling. He's fast, okay? They added speed on offense. So let's be fair. The offensive line is the same right now, but again, they still have picks left. They could potentially improve the offensive line if they actually make a pick. It's there potentially. If they actually use the picks on players. Glass City says fire Lynch and all will be better. I don't know about that, but I don't think you can just say that. CT Niner fan, super YouTube channel member. Thank you so much for the super chat. Says, appreciate you taking the time to live stream. A little lackluster so far. Excited about our new wide receiver. Big, fast, good hands. Sending love from Middletown. Yeah, Middletown, Connecticut. Thank you, CT Niner fan. I appreciate the donation and the kind words. Really, I do. I would say lackluster. Yeah, that's one word to describe this draft so far. What is the word? Let's do that while we wait here for the 49ers to make a pick. What is one word to describe this 49ers draft? Let's have a little fun. Get creative. I'll throw the best one on the screen, and we can have some fun with that. Chris Waddell, thank you again for the super chat. Chris says, my best guess is since half the league runs some form of our system, defense and offense, maybe a lot of targets are getting plucked. They draft system, not traits. Belichick, Reed, Peyton, they draft traits, no system. I'm sure that's part of it. If everybody's running the Shanahan system, certain things stand out in that system. But also, if you're the 49ers or any of these other teams, you have to know that, and you have to be ready to pivot and change your system and evolve your system. Okay, we've got the actual terms of the trade. So the 49ers get pick 70 and pick 107. So a third and a fourth. And the Browns get pick 58 and pick 152, a fifth. So the 49ers have traded that fifth round pick to move up in the fourth round. Hooray! Again, yeah, it's fine, but is the value that great? Is that's the deal that you couldn't turn down instead of just picking somebody? King Jedi says, the Niners know what they're doing. They're looking for the next Mr. Irrelevant, baby. Shaking my head. Yeah, you can get Mr. If you've got all the final 5 picks in the draft, you get a ton of credit if one of them ends up being good, right? Joe JC, thank you for the super chat again, says, admittedly, it's very funny to say we don't like anyone in this draft. Let's get more picks in this draft. Exactly. That's exactly it. And it seems like the 49ers are kind of talking out of both sides of their mouth, which is never a good thing. All the 49ers beat writers feeling the same thing. They are all like, can we please do something? Please. The Niners have made 4 trades in less than 24 hours, as Cam Inman points out. Twice Thursday to exit the first round. Dee Winters to the Cowboys today to get a 5th rounder, and a 2nd round pick and a 5th rounder to the Browns for a high 3rd and a 4th. I did not think that the 49ers were going to manipulate the draft board this much. I was surprised that they moved around this much. I thought they might make a couple of trades, but they kind of seemed to me more like a team that was going to stay put and make their picks, maybe trade down once or twice, but I really didn't think that they were going to do it this much. And I've referenced this multiple times, but Matt Mayoko just tweeted about it. In 86, Bill Walsh and John McVay traded back 4 times before selecting a player. The Niners ended up making 6 trades total and had one of the great drafts in franchise history. Yeah, that's awesome. And that is true. But again, trading down doesn't guarantee any of that. Jermon McCoy is still on the board. Okay, that's nothing. Um, yeah, and again, if they were getting picks for next year, I would be much more on board with it. But that's not what they are doing. People are ripping them. I'm just looking at the draft responses to the 49ers tweet announcing the trade. Worst draft you've done. Could have had Howell and Emmanuel McNeil Warren, and you frittered it away. There's no defending this. Lost tons of respect for this front office. Bro, if you're going to actually trade picks and gain picks, quit with this pick swap stuff. Swear you guys don't know what you're doing. Y'all better not miss on any of these picks. What are you, stupid or something? Can we trade John Lynch and the next 3 first-round picks for Howie Roseman? Can we? Great, we can stack a bunch of special teamers with all the 4th and 5th round picks, GTFO. 1 pick in 2 days, and we don't even take the best position we draft. Make it make sense. Yeah, and they picked Emmanuel McNeil Warren. I officially lost faith in John and Kyle. They will overreach for some players that will not contribute at all or end up in Kyle's doghouse. The worst GM in the league. We're going to have every pick in the 5th round. Fire Lynch now. That's a measured reaction from 49ers fans. I'm not shocked, right? That's what you're going to get. All right. Did anybody submit their one word about the 49ers draft? Maybe I went past it. Anthony Nagatani says they're trolling you. You realize the 49ers are helping out 49ers YouTube journalists and hurting the media. Michael Steckham says the one word is bewildering. That's pretty good. Ooh, I like this one. The one word from Jesse Morris says conviction. We know that's John Lynch's favorite. I have it here somewhere.
Convicted, convicted, convicted.
That and
Consensus, consensus, consensus.
those are all different times when John Lynch has used those words. Cassio says this is the weirdest draft ever. Momotaros says Niners only managed 20 sacks last year and Bosa's coming off injury. I guess they don't believe in pass rush. Again, they could argue they think their pass rush is going to be better next year, but I don't know if you can, how much you can depend on that. Because not only are you depending on Mykal Williams to come back from injury, but he's got to be better than he was last year as a pass rusher. He did not show pass rush flourish last year. So you need him to come back from injury and improve. That's sometimes a tall order. Let's see. The Titans just took Anthony Hill Jr., who I know Dieter Kurtenbach loved. Not surprising he goes to Robert Saleh there. The Rams took Max Clare, a tight end from Ohio State. Damn, the Rams love their tight ends. They already used 3 of them last year, and they just grab another one right there. So we are on pick 30 of round 2. Bills, Chargers, Seahawks, and that is the end of round 2. We still have round 3 to go. Here's what I'm going to do. Give me 30 seconds because I'm here by myself and my voice is fading. Give me 30 seconds to go get a drink. I'll be right back. I promise I will just get a drink and I will be right back. 1 second. All right. You know what? That was supposed to be. Here, we'll do Way. Thank you, everybody. Restock the drink. We are back. I appreciate it. My voice is very appreciative. I just got a text from Levin. He says, a team wanting to go all in went from a first and second to a single second. The chances of a third plus being anything good as a rookie is slim to none. If they did it for picks next year on a deeper draft, I get it. This is just moronic. He agrees with me. Shocker. He agrees with me. As well, he should, because what they are doing doesn't make sense. Trading for more picks this year just seems very, very strange. And it may all work out. Maybe it will, but it's hard to say we don't like any of these players, but we want more chances to choose from these players. The players aren't changing, okay? So whatever you want, whatever you have to say about them, do just make sense logically. I really try to look at things from the team's perspective, but this one is bizarre. Blacktop Halo, thanks for the super chat. My word is shenanigans. This is absolute cheeks. Still one of my favorite expressions. Chris Waddell says, not mad, just disappointed. That's my word to describe the draft. Disappointed. Frustrating would be my word so far. Like, I don't understand what is the benefit? I hope someone asks them. They're going to have another press conference after this draft. I have to ask the question. What is the benefit of getting more picks in this draft when you just keep trading down? Clearly, you're not afraid to go against consensus because a lot of people think you did it with the one pick you did make. So if that's the case, then just go against consensus again. What are you afraid of? Well, this is what they're doing. And look, every draft is important. I always talk about this. The reason why every team gets good is the draft. The reason why every team gets bad is the draft. It's the same thing. It's your source of cheap labor. You're not going to sign, 8 or 9 free agents every year, but you could draft 7 to 8 people every year, right? Even more. That's why teams get good. That's why teams get bad. It is the draft. That is the reason. When we talk years from now about what the 49ers need in free agency, about what the 49ers need in the draft, it's going to be because of the players that they did or did not pick today and yesterday and tomorrow. It matters. It's crucially important. And they seem to be so far today acting like it's not. And I fully admit that some of this is just my frustration because I've been here and we don't have picks to talk about, but it is frustrating. Jeff Deeney points out Ole Miss quarterbacks had a 136.7 passer rating when targeting Stribling last season. Okay. Hayden Winks says, I like Stribling more than a handful of the projected round 3 wide receivers. All right. I think the general consensus from what I'm seeing is that maybe they think he was taken too high, but that he's not necessarily a bad player. So I can live with that. I would much rather have that, right? A good player taken too high than a player taken at the right spot that's not any good. I'll say that. A lot of people mad about the McNeil Warren pick. Al Sacco says the Niners traded picks that turned into Omar Cooper and McNeil Warren. Dieter Kurtenbach quote tweeted that and said the YouTube All-Stars. So he's clearly not as upset as some 49ers fans. I will put the, let me put this up on the screen, the updated 49ers draft picks after the trades. So you see the Stribling pick there. They have pick 70 in round 3, pick 90 in round 3, pick 107 in round 3, and then 3 picks in round 4, 127, 133, 139, and 1 pick in round 5 at 179. The Chargers just took Jake Slaughter. That's probably the least surprising pick of all time, that Jim Harbaugh takes a guy with the last name Slaughter. That doesn't surprise me. I got to think at this point they're done trading down, right? Like, how many more picks do you need? They went in with 6 draft picks. They now have, 1, 4, 7, 8. You got 8 picks, all right? Like, do you really need more? And again, how many of these guys are going to actually make the team? John Lynch loved to say, oh, well, we made 11 picks last year and they're all still here. It's like, yeah, we're 1 year into their careers. Congratulations that you didn't cut them all at the same year you drafted him. Like he keeps saying that like it's a flex. That really doesn't make any sense to me. But he loves saying it. But how many of these guys are going to stick around? I don't know. They don't seem to think a lot with the way they keep trading down. President Newsom says, I will bet anyone $100 that none of these guys will be on the roster by 2029. To be fair, that's probably most players because the average career is only 3 years, which means a lot of people get cut and their career is over well before that. Vinny V. Oh, where was that Vinny V tweet comment? Did you say 4 picks in the third round running back? I wouldn't put it past them, Vinny. I think that's absolutely a possibility that happens at some point today. Rick says, are they trying to recover picks from the Trey Lance trade? Ellie K says, we can draft an entire offensive line in rounds 3 and 4. That's true, Ellie. There you go. That's optimism. I like that. Michael says, one more trade down. Perplexed is this comment one word for the draft? Jesse Morris, YouTube channel member, says, the next pick better be fire. At this point, I don't know that there's anyone the 49ers could pick that people would think that, because here's the other part of this is now we're getting through the names that a lot of people know. So whoever the 49ers pick, I don't know that there's going to be this sort of outpouring of elation that they got a good guy because we're through most of the names that people know. So we don't know if they got a good guy. Just like most people don't know Stribling. So they're, tend to be more against it than you would think. So let's see. Jake Slaughter goes pick 31 in round 2. Seahawks are on the clock as the Super Bowl champs. They have the last pick of the second round. The pick is in. Haven't seen who it is just yet. Oh, I like this. Jason Aponte tweets, the 49ers are Peter Griffin with the mystery box. A pick is a pick, but the trade for a future pick could be anything. It could even be a player. I'm glad that the general reaction to the 49ers draft has been mine because it tells me that I'm not crazy, which is just, as we've talked about, you can't keep trading down for more picks in a draft where you don't want to pick anybody. David with the $1.99 super chat. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Perfect Blackness is here. What's up, man? Have you been here? I didn't see you yesterday. Thanks for hopping in the stream. Ban Shanahan from the draft and fire Lynch. Tired of seeing drafts wasted with an arrogantly stupid process. This is how excellent coaches don't win Super Bowls. It's a fair point, Perfect Blackness. Like I said, the draft is the reason you are good, and the draft is the reason you are bad. Shanahan coached his ass off last year. Maybe the best coaching job of his entire career. It was phenomenal. This part of the job is the weakest part. I am not sure that giving Kyle Shanahan personnel control is the best thing anymore. And this draft certainly isn't doing anything to change your mind. Now, again, we haven't seen any of these guys play, so we may feel differently when they see them get out on the field, to be fair. But right now, the process is questionable. The Seahawks got Bud Clark at safety at 64. That's another name I was kind of hoping the 49ers would get. Seems like a good player. I don't need the Seahawks defense getting any better. I'll tell you that. I really could have lived without that one. But Tim says, Shanahan just call out the name Cleveland Farrell and hope nobody notices. Cassio89 says we won't have the weakest schedule this year. Again, they didn't have the weakest schedule last year. We thought they were going to, but when the season actually played out, it was middle of the road. Tacky Needle says you can draft totally against consensus after you win the Super Bowl. That is fair. There's one thing to think about here. The 49ers have been open about their process in terms of how they do it. And basically, if anyone doesn't know, what they have talked about is the scouts, they tell the scouts, this is what we want for every position. At safety, we want XYZ. At receiver, we want XYZ. At tight end, we want ABC. So the scouts go out with that in mind, and they look for guys that have those traits. And they collect all the guys that have those traits that they think are good, and they give them to the coaches. And then it's the coaches who go through the guys that the scouts have already kind of pre-selected, and then the coaches go through those guys, and they make recommendations to Kyle and John and Kyle and John go through and make their picks as well. Well, when the 49ers had a lot of their draft success, they had a different coaching staff, right? They had Mike McDaniel, obviously. They had Robert Saleh. They had a bunch of different people. They had a bunch of different people in the front office. And that is when, unquestionably, they had their most draft success. Kittle, Debo, Warner, Bosa, obviously anybody could have picked, so I'm not really going to include him. Even like Brock Purdy, right? He was a Brian Griese guy. Griese is no longer here. They have had a lot of brain drain from the front office and from the coaching staff. And it's entirely possible that the guys that they have right now are just not as good at scouting as the guys that were here earlier. That's a real thing. That could be a very real thing. And again, I'm not saying all these guys are bad. I don't mean to say that, all these guys. The one guy they picked. I'm not saying he's bad, but that was the 49ers process as they themselves have laid it out. Maybe now they just don't have people, coaches that are as good at scouting these guys as some of the other guys that were there. I'm just trying to explain things. I'm not saying I'm 100% right. This is not a hill I'm going to die on, but excuse me, that would make sense. All right. Bud Clark was the last pick of round 2. Hooray, round 2 is in the books. The 49ers make the first pick of the round and then do not make another pick the rest of the round. Round 3 coming up. God, let them pick a player. I am at that point where it's just pick anybody. Cardinals have the first pick in this round. Broncos, Raiders. So the 49ers have the 6th pick of the round. We are 6 picks away for the 49ers. For the love of God, draft someone. Anyone at this point. Anyone but a kicker. Michael says, this reminds me of the movie Dodgeball. That's a bold strategy, Cotton. Vinny says, if we take a quarterback, just end the stream. I might. That might be a thing that happens. Quarterback or kicker, I might end the stream. I would not be shocked, by the way, if they did take a running back. I would absolutely not be shocked if they did. Oh, man. The Cardinals have selected Carson Beck. So the first pick of the 3rd round is the 3rd quarterback, Carson Beck, going to the Cardinals. I had heard that the Cardinals wanted Ty Simpson badly, that they really wanted Ty Simpson. They didn't get him. I was hoping maybe that the 49ers could persuade them to trade for Mac Jones, but obviously that is not going to happen, especially now as Carson Beck, the quarterback from Miami, goes to the Arizona Cardinals. Have a feeling we'll be seeing him at some point when the 49ers play the Cardinals this year. Brian Peacock has tweeted, it will be fascinating to see if the 49ers can stick the landing on this class. One thing I do know, if they drafted Omar Cooper Jr. and Emmanuel McNeil Warren while jumping from pick 138 to 90, it would have been an A+ grade by everyone. You can't make your pick just for the draft grade, but I see the point that Brian is making. They would have solved needs. They would have traded down. They would have got extra picks. They could still land the plane, but now these names are coming off the board and it's going to be harder and harder to do. Absolutely. So 5 picks away now are the 49ers as the Cardinals have made the first pick of the 3rd round. Seeing more and more takes on Stribling here as people have responded. Matt Harmon says, Stribling was a late riser in the process. It's clear why he's a pick for Shanahan. He should fit right into Juwan Jennings' role. Played at Oklahoma State and Washington State. Ran a 4.36 40-yard dash, as we know. 6'2", 210. Great. Maybe he can contribute. You've still, even if he can contribute, you've still invested a hell of a lot of resources at wide receiver, right? 2 picks last year. Shanahan basically picks a wide receiver every year. Now you've taken another wide receiver with a very high pick in the 2nd round. Obviously, he's basically a 1st-round pick. You just took Pearsall in 2024 as well. So you've invested a lot of resources at wide receiver. And now, 2 of your top 3 this year are going to be guys that you didn't even draft, right? In Mike Evans and Christian Kirk. So that is a lot of capital there for not that much return, quite honestly. B Mills is the man, says Pregnon or Dunker here. It's possible. I would be happy about that. Chris Waddell says, is Coogan still available day one, guard or center starter, in my opinion? In terms of guys that are still there and on the board, Jermon McCoy is still there. Wait, that doesn't seem right. This is not up to date. Let me give it a refresh. McCoy is still there. Pregnon is still there. Jennings Dunker is still there. If they want to go offensive line, there are guys there that could be intriguing. Sam Roush is still there. I really like Sam Roush. If they got Sam Roush, that would be phenomenal. Oscar Delp at tight end, I would like. Jack Endries at tight end, I would settle for. We'll see. Roush, I think, is probably going to go tomorrow. I don't think he's going to go in the third round, but we will see. There are still options there. They could still land this thing. We need a lot of people saying we need a good guard. Anthony said, that's the wrong comment, but I'll read it anyway. For months, people have said the middle is strong and the top is weak. They must want to maximize the picks in the middle. I expect them to trade up in the fourth to get their guy. They definitely have enough picks to trade up, that's for sure. Stats, no one could have predicted that Ayuk was going to go crazy. Yeah, that's part of it, but they never should have signed Ayuk to begin with. He was never all in. By the way, he was going back and forth on whether or not he wanted to be traded. That should have been the signal. Ooh, this is a list right here. This tweet, I want to give credit from Ryan Heath, who says every skill position the Niners had drafted on day 2 under Kyle Shanahan. Stribling, Cam Latu, stunk. Ty Davis-Price, stunk. Danny Gray, stunk. Trey Sermon, stunk. Deebo Samuel, home run. Jalen Hurd, didn't play. Dante Pettis, stunk. That is probably the single most depressing list I've ever seen when it comes to football anyway. That is a shockingly depressing list. Let's hope we're breaking that streak today, huh? Oh, my God. Let's hope we are breaking that streak. Oh, boy. Michelle is sending me TikToks. Michelle, I can't watch a TikTok. I'm on the air. You know I'm on the air. Oh, man. You know what? Speaking of, I'm going to send Michelle the link just in case she wants to stop by. Hopefully she will, and she can crush the 49ers. All right. Let's see where we are. Tyler Oneedham went, the Texas A&M defensive tackle, went to the Broncos. So the Raiders are on the clock at pick 67. Then we've got the Eagles again and the Bears and then the 49ers. The Raiders pick is officially in. So pick 67 is in. I'm sure Howie Roseman's going to take another player that we wanted for the 49ers because that's what Howie Roseman do. But we wait. Bio Nerd 49er. Is Stribling a faster Debo Jennings hybrid player with a deep threat bonus? Shanahan all in one. I don't think he's fast. Debo is fast. I think Debo's speed is underrated. I don't know if he's faster than Debo. He's definitely faster than Jawan Jennings, but that's not exactly a high bar to clear. Remember, Jennings was a 7th round pick, right? Stribling is a 2nd round pick and pick 1 in the 2nd round. Anthony says Dante Pettis was an NFL wide receiver. He was a head case and didn't like getting hit, but he didn't stink. Well, what has he done in the NFL? Nothing. So for whatever reason you want to assign to it, it was a bad pick. Oh, Vinny with the tweet, with the comment of the day. Shanahan can't wait to show Stribling his wide receiver tape. That is something that at least he used to do. I don't know if he still does it, but I know for a fact, Mohamed Sanu told me Kyle Shanahan shows wide receivers his tape when he was in college. So he used to do it. I don't know if he still does, but I was shocked when he said that. I could not believe it. But Kyle has a very distinct picture, a very high bar when it comes to wide receivers. Maybe it was because he was a wide receiver in college, but I couldn't believe it when I heard that. This comment says, Michelle is probably 10 mimosas deep right now, and rightfully so. Yeah, to be honest, if it's a day that ends in Y, she's probably 10 mimosas deep. But President Newsom says it's wild how Shanahan can have drafts this bad, yet still pull on miracle seasons. Imagine if you would actually let the scouts do their job and draft good players. This is the pattern that I have fallen into with Kyle Shanahan. is that I end up criticizing him like crazy in the offseason, and then I end up praising him like crazy during the season for most of it. I feel like he's much better at the coaching part than he is the GM part. I think that much is clear. The Raiders took Kieran Crawford, an edge out of Auburn at 67. The Eagles pick is already in. So we will see about that, who they decide to pick. I'm sure we're going to go, oh, the Eagles got that guy. Ooh, apparently Mike Greenberg said that Denzel Boston was David Boston's son. They are not related. So that was a gaffe by Greeny. But I have a little, I mean, first of all, Greeny's insanely talented at his job. And when you're on the air for 2+ hours, you're going to make mistakes. Like, that is a thing that happens. All right, come on, 49ers. We're getting there ever so slowly. All right. Sorry. I needed to take a breather there. The Eagles pick is in. We are creeping towards the 49ers, hopefully, potentially making a draft pick. Dante Pettis was also a cat dude, so that's a dead giveaway. I agree. I'm not a cat dude. Dog person all the way here. Moonman Ed, member for 23 months. Thank you so much, Ed. I appreciate that. Says, we're probably going to draft a running back here in a bit. I would not be shocked if that was the case. Again, I think it's coming at some point. I would not be shocked if Isaac Guerrero is cut and doesn't even make the team, but I would not be shocked if one of these picks ends up being a running back. Patrick says, miss anything? Stepped out due to being angry at the team. No, you have not. Modelo Time 1999 Twitch says, I wouldn't be shocked if Mike Washington is going to be the next pick if he's there. I wouldn't be shocked if he ended up on the 49ers. I don't know for sure when he's going to get picked. He kind of strikes me as like an Isaac Guerrero guy, right? A guy with some really impressive physical skills, but that doesn't necessarily translate to being a good running back. It's not the only thing you need. You need vision, right? You need, especially with the 49ers, because they run the outside zone scheme, you need vision. You need to know where the holes are going to open up. You need patience to wait and press the hole to see when it actually opens up. And then when it does open up, you need to choose the right hole, because the 49ers don't have necessarily a defined, this is where you go all the time. You have to read your blocks and decide in real time which hole is going to open up. That's what Isaac Guerrero is not good at. He's fast, and if he sees a hole and it's the right one and he hits it, it can be a big gain, but he doesn't know where he's going, basically. Hey, I'm just out of curiosity. I know the Niners haven't made a ton of picks, but is Jed York doing his stupid tweets? I haven't seen any of those from him before the pick was made, which is good because I hated those. Bo Adams is still ripping me about my hair. Stepped away for a minute to put more product in his hair. I did not. I got a drink, okay? My voice is dying. Moonman Ed says, Rob, I've been inactive on here since the season ended, planning on tuning back in after this. Thank you, Moonman Ed. We missed you. Tacky Needle says Stowers should have been the pick. I noticed his hair looked a little more pokey. Come on, man. You guys are relentless. Tacky Needle says Guerrero did average like 5.2 yards per carry. Yeah, because that's what happens when you bust a big one and then you have a bunch, a little bit of smaller ones, and then you don't play. That one big one that you busted is pulling up the average, so it looks deceiving. Okay, we got a new tweet of the day. Dave Mills, just in. 49ers trade all remaining picks for a new substation. That is outstanding. All right, the Eagles take Markel Bell, the tackle from Miami. The Bears are on the clock. Their pick is in. Or I shouldn't say they're on the clock. Their pick is in, so the 49ers are on the clock. Let's go, Niners. Give it to us. Give us a pick, please, for the love of God. That is a great comment, though, Dave Mills. Guards are still there. You could still potentially get a starting left guard. Remember, Dominic Pooney was a third-round pick back in the day. He ended up starting for the 49ers. He was one of their rare good picks for the 49ers in the 3rd round. Can they do it again here? They also still need an edge rusher. Is that where they go? I mean, the names that are left, Romelo Height is still there. He's someone I heard potentially talked about to the 49ers, but I'm not going to lie. I don't know much about the other guys that are there. It doesn't mean they're not good, but we'll have to see. I have heard a little about this guy, Barham from Michigan. High motor guy. Maybe that would be a player that they would take. Jyshawn, I think that's his name, Jyshawn Barham. Let me go to the Brugler draft guide. Jyshawn Barham. All right, so who are the Bears taking here? I hate the way they drag out these names. Come on, let's go. The Chicago Bears. Oh, Sam Roush just went. No! Damn you, Ben Johnson. You're always taking my guys. Oh, come on. Oh, damn it. Damn it. I wanted Roush. I wanted Roush to end up on the Niners. Oh, that's a bummer. Now, there's still another couple of good names they could take, but excuse me. That is a bummer. Johnny Dell is texting me. He's mad. Sorry, voice again, fading. Doing my best here. All right. For the love of God, make a pick. Someone, anyone. At this point, I don't care who it is. I want someone to talk about. Please, please, please. You've got to eventually. You can't keep trading down. People, stop calling the 49ers. Just stop calling them. If they call you, don't pick up the phone. Okay? Force them to make a pick. That is where I am right now with the 49ers. Please don't do it. The Niners pick is in. I don't know who it is, but we're going to find out. We will find out together. Come on, Roger Goodell. What do you got for me here? Well, it's not Goodell at this point, but it is Romelo Height, the pass rusher from Texas A&M. The 49ers have finally made a pick. Let's go to the Dane Brugler draft guide. Smaller than most successful edges, but keeping him blocked is easier said than done. All right, that's not the worst evaluation. 49ers select Romelo Height. I got to learn how to spell all these names. My son is here. Thomas, are you happy that the 49ers selected a pass rusher or just picked anybody? They've only made 2 picks today.
Two. What was the first one?
They took DeJon Stribling, a wide receiver.
Okay. I don't know how I feel about that one, but it's okay. Who's this guy?
Romelo Height is a pass rusher from Texas Tech. We're going to learn more about him in a second as soon as I can finish typing out my topic bar. There we go. Let's see. Let's dive in. He was the 15th best edge rusher from Dane Brugler. He was picked in the 3rd round. My daughter is here as well. Thank you, Diana. Let's see. Let's get to the summary first. There aren't many edge rushers with Height's slender size profile who find sustained success in the NFL, but his twitchy get-off and rush movements can be weaponized by the right defensive play caller. He projects as a sub-down design pass rusher in the NFL. Now, I will say this. They needed that because that was supposed to be Bryce. Oh, God. Now I can't think of his name. Bryce Huff. Thank you, Thomas. That was supposed to be Bryce Huff's job, right? The 3rd down pass rusher that comes in, speed off the edge to pressure the quarterback. That's what it was supposed to be. They lost Bryce Huff, obviously, now that he retired. So that's what they're trying to fill here. Plus, you have Raheem Morris here. He's the new DC. He's going to be the DC for multiple years. You have to let him pick his guys. So, interesting. Now, let's see. Is he 25 years old? Yes, he is. All right. Well, you're going to have to get used to older players because of COVID and because of the NIL stuff. So, yeah, you're going to have to live with that, but I don't hate it.
Yeah. if the Niners had Robert Saleh, he would use what's the guy's name that they just picked?
Romelo Height.
He would use Romelo Height so well. He would just put him right in Bryce Huff's shoes, and I think he would do so well. But who's their defensive coordinator?
Raheem Morris. Have some faith in Raheem Morris.
Okay, yeah. I think he's got it. I think he'll do it.
All right. Thanks, Thomas. Did you have fun tonight?
Oh yeah.
All right, good. Let's dive into Romelo Height more. A one-year starter at Texas Tech. He played the dog stand-up outside linebacker position in the scheme. That's what the 49ers wanted. They wanted somebody that they could put on the edge, but also someone that could stand up and drop back into coverage if necessary. That is what Raheem Morris likes to do, okay? So it's not surprising that that's who they took. He, let's say, 62 pressures in 2025, which ranked number 2 in the Big 12 and number 7 in FBS. That is obviously very encouraging. Let's look at some of the strengths and weaknesses. 6'2", almost 6'3", ran a 4.6, 440, 1.62 10-yard split. Athletic muscle, has a very low body fat on his frame. Bursts out of his stance with speed and a full tank. Active feet with slashing quickness to cross faces of blockers and access inside rush lanes. Showed semblance of a pass rush plan to set up vertical setters. Flashes decent long arm move to create pocket push. Keeps hands alive to have a chance at escaping latch of blockers. Rangy from the backside. Frequently makes plays far from his starting point. Doesn't take days off. Quickly earned respect in Lubbock with the way he worked and had a productive final season with career highs across the board. Those all seem like great strengths. I like hearing that. Now let's get into some of the weaknesses. High cut, wiry frame and lacks ideal body mass for the position. Needs to cut down on wasted movements in his rush setup and counter attempts. Ability to anchor versus downhill run attacks is a concern. Okay, but if he's going to be a specialized pass rusher, I think I can live with that. Wild angles to the football, creating escape routes for the quarterback. That I don't love. We've seen a lot of that in San Francisco. That is something you got to clean up. More of a striker than fundamentally sound wrap tackler, which will be more noticeable versus the NFL. Ball carriers, overaged, will turn 25 before draft weekend. Redshirted first season at Auburn in 2020 because of offseason shoulder surgery. Right shoulder injury in 2022 after arriving at USC, which required season-ending surgery. So that is what the Dane Brugler draft guide says about Romelo Height. What is your reaction in the chat? Do you like it? Do you hate it? People are saying he's Bryce Huff's replacement. Let's see what the Bo Adams says. I'm holding back my opinion until I hear from Chris Waddell. That's funny. Let's see what the Dieter and Hutch draft guide says about Romelo Height. I will bring that up on the screen as well so we can read it together. Again, it's good to get information from as many different sources as possible. He was Dieter's guy, one of Dieter Kurtenbach's personal stamps of approval. He was in the top 100 from Jake Hutchinson and Dieter. Eye catcher, plays with pop, who pops off the tape immediately. Elite speed and slippery, elusive, shifty player. The upside, according to Dieter and Hutch, is one of the most terrifying speed rushers in the NFL who gives every stiff, large tackle nightmares by you in a flash if you're not careful. The downside would be has to deliver as a pass rusher because the size isn't there as an edge setter, and that might mean a 3-4 system only. Jake Hutchinson says a springy ghost rusher who at times looks like the better Texas Tech edge rusher. He can fly off the ball. Love his effort on backside run stops. Outrageously fast. Concerns are that he's very, very lean and doesn't have the base to be a true run defending edge setter. Falls down way too often. Plays at an uneven, jittery pace and relies almost exclusively on speed or speed to power, though he pulled out a Daniil Hunter-esque spin move at one point. Shades of Nick Herbig. I got to say, again, I find that encouraging. I think that they're going to have a role for him. They're going to use him as that pass rusher, as that Bryce Huff replacement. I don't know if he's going to be good at it, but at least you could see the vision, right? Can I see the vision? That's what I want to know. 32.5-inch arms, 9.5-inch hands, 62 pressures last year at Texas Tech. I think that is a solid pick. It's nice that they have a freaking guy that we can actually talk about. I think it was a good pick. 61st percentile on the 40-yard dash, 91st percentile. He had a 39-inch vertical leap and a 10.5-inch broad jump. That's the 80th percentile. I see the vision. At least this one I understand, right? Raheem Morris wants this kind of guy in the system. They want to do the 5 men on the defensive line. I get it. All right. I feel better about this pick. The wide receiver pick, we got to wait and see. At least this one, I can see the plan. You can see it. Daniel says, are we switching to a 3-4? What Kyle Shanahan said at the owners' meetings was that Raheem Morris wasn't going to decide what kind of defense he wanted to run until he saw everybody in training camp. Now, I'm sure he wants versatility. That is what Raheem Morris is known for. He's a pragmatist. He doesn't just say, this is my system, this is what I do. He has things he likes to do, but he also will change his system based on the players that he has. But he wants the flexibility to be able to do anything. And in order to do that, you need a guy like Romelo Height, who obviously can do multiple things and fill a role as the 5th man on that defensive line. So we're not switching to a 3-4, I wouldn't say, or not full time. I think we're going to be a varied defense. Joe JC says, you were right earlier, Rob. I'm now simply grateful that they made a normal pick. They've successfully manipulated me. Yeah, it's galaxy brain drafting is really what it is. B Mills is the man. YouTube channel member says, trade up to get a guard and suddenly this is good. That's what I mean. What did I say an hour and 45 minutes ago? I said, we have to wait and see the full picture. You can't judge a whole draft on just one pick. You have to see the whole picture. They needed a wide receiver. They took a wide receiver. We don't know if he's any good, but they took one. They needed an edge player. They took one. Now they got to, I think, safety, guard would be another player, another spot that I think they need to address. They need to address, I think, center, because don't forget, Jake Brendel's 34 years old and he's going to be a free agent. So they've got other needs. The Giants are on the clock now. Okay, Moonman Ed says, we're probably going to draft a running back here in a bit. I would not be shocked. B Mills is the man, says, stats, any chance they are loading up on picks to trade for a vet before day 3 starts? I don't know. A lot of people seem to think that, at least earlier today. Who would the vet be? Kayvon Thibodeau, or Thibodeau, I should say. I don't know how many picks they would need to load up on to get him. I'm not sure. But that'd be interesting. By the way, Romelo Height was one of the 49ers 30 visits. Let me throw this up on the old screen here for you so you can see the visits and who's left and who's there. They had Caden Proctor, Omar Cooper, Casey Concepcion, Denzel Boston, Caleb Lamu, Maxi Hanachor, and Malachi Lawrence all in for visits. They are all gone. They also had Tyler Oneedham in for a visit. He is gone. Romelo Height obviously is one visit that they drafted. There's still a bunch of guys that they had in for visits that are available. Chris Brazel, Malik Muhammad, Jayshawn Barham, Travis Burke, Chris McClellan. You can see the names there on the screen if you're watching on the stream. So bunch of guys that they had in that could still end up on the team. So we will see how meaningful and valuable those 30 visits were for the 49ers. Hav says, hey, Height looks pretty solid. Jason says, most fans are dumb AF. This thread proves it. Mike says, I can't watch any more football news. This just makes me realize that this season might be worse than last year for talent depth. 8-9 season incoming. I wouldn't say that. I mean, look, the 49ers were beat to hell last year, and they still won 13 games, including the playoffs. And they won a road playoff game. I don't think there's anything that could happen today that would make me think that they're going to miss the playoffs. Like, I think they had a playoff caliber roster before the draft even started. I really do. And I don't think I'm alone in that. So the fact, hopefully they can add to it here in the draft. But even if you think all the picks they make are going to stink, I still think they're a playoff team next year. Tacky Needle says 2 terrible picks. Brad apparently said Height might be a target last month. That would not shock me. Brad is elbow deep in draft scouting and draft coverage, and certainly trust his opinion along the line of scrimmage. So it wouldn't shock me there. Just to catch you up, the Commanders took Antonio Williams, a wide receiver from Clemson. The Cincinnati Bengals took Takario Davis, a corner from Washington. The Saints took Oscar Delp, a tight end from Georgia. Damn it, that was another tight end I was hoping the 49ers would take. Oh, man, they're not going to get any of these damn guys, are they? Oh, that's a bummer. That is a bummer. Oscar Delp, man. So now it's Jack Endries would probably be the only tight end left that I was hoping that they would take. Man. They never take my draft crush, man. I swear. They never do it. Well, here's hoping next year I fall into. I guess Eli Heidenreich is still there, but he wouldn't be picked until tomorrow. So the 49ers are not on the clock again until pick 90. We are at pick 75 right now. Oh, boy. Come on, 49ers. Trade up. Help me out here. Corner, somebody said corner would be good too. Yeah, I think they have more pressing needs than corner. Again, I had heard that they were shopping Renardo Green. We'll see if that comes to fruition. Perfect Blackness says, this is how it looks when you give people who think they're smarter than everyone too much power. Okay, if you don't like the Romelo Height pick, tell me why. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just want to know what is it about him that you don't like. And let me look at some of his family stuff. His father is a Marine veteran. So both of the 49ers picks have family members with ties to the Marines. He discovered his love for football at age 8 while playing Pop Warner for the Packers. He also grew up basketball and bass fishing. Let's see. Yada, yada, yada. High school's all-time sacks leader. 4-star recruit. Great. Yada, yada, yada. Had offers from a lot of big schools. He appeared to be, flipped to Auburn. 16th ranked recruit in Gus Malzahn's final recruiting class. Entered the transfer portal, transferred to USC, but he missed most of the year with injury. He was a backup in 2023. Entered the transfer portal again. Graduated from USC with a degree in American popular culture. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. Nothing earth-shattering there in the personal stuff. But if you don't like Romelo Height, tell me why. What is it about him? Is it because he doesn't play the run as well? Is it because of his frame? Like, just tell me what is it that you don't like it. Tacky Needle says, drafted 2 rounds early and was just a wild guess. Okay. I don't know. I would like something more specific than that. Blacktop Halo, thank you for the super chat, says, just going to throw this out there. Height and Micah Parsons are the same size, and Height has longer arms and wingspan. Sure, Parsons is faster, but saying Height is undersized is nonsense. I always think it's a little scary when you start saying, well, this guy has the same height, weight, arm length as this other guy who's really good, because that's part of it. Yes, no doubt about it. But that's not, it doesn't always translate is my point. For example, like there are a lot of NFL players who are, let's just say 6'3" with this length, inch arms and weigh this much, you could make that same comparison with a lot of guys. I'm not saying you're wrong, Blacktop Halo. I'm just saying that, I don't know how much of an indicator that is, but I think your point of, hey, we've seen someone whose physical body looks like this be a elite top tier pass rusher maybe makes you encouraged that they didn't draft a bust there, right? Man, I really think that Bryce Huff retirement hurt, because I think that that's what they wanted, right? That was the plan for this defense, the way they drew it up, and it was working. It worked in week 1. The defense closed out the game. It worked in week 2. The defense closed out the game against the Saints. Twice they had it on back-to-back possessions at the end of that game. It was working, and we never got to see it because everybody got hurt and it all went to crap. It would have been really fun, I think, to watch this defense throughout the year. Now they're trying to get that back. I think that's the thinking with the Romelo Height. People are saying he's undersized. Patrick Lucero, he's undersized and I don't know him too much. You know what, Patrick? Credit to you. That is a honest, fair critique. He is a little undersized, but here's the thing too that I think we should keep in mind. We are at the point in the draft where, again, everyone is saying this is not the strongest draft. There's warts on every player. There's going to be a knock on every player. They are being picked at this spot for a reason. And if the draft is not as deep as everyone said, or if the draft is as shallow as everyone says, then all these guys are probably going to have bigger warts than maybe a typical third-round pick might have. So what you have to do as an NFL team is decide what you're comfortable with. What can you live with in terms of flaws for a player, and what's a deal breaker for you? Or what do you really value as the strengths of a player? And so does that override everything? And is that something you can't live without? Sorry. I already put that comment up on the screen. I just want to make sure I don't miss anybody's super chats because I really, really do appreciate it. Vinny V says, when it's like this, faithful got a faithful. It could be Chip Kelly and Trent Baalke in the war room. Philippe says, I got it. We're taking very long-term approach. Secure top 10 picks in 3, 4, 5 years. That's funny. But again, I think this was a playoff roster before they ever drafted anybody, and I'm sticking to that. Perfect Blackness says, Romelo Height got bodied against better offensive linemen. He succeeds only against subpar offensive linemen, has only one move and an injury history, is finished when hands are put on him, useless against the run. That's why. You know what, Perfect Blackness? That's a legit criticism. That is a legit, at least a well thought out criticism. No, I have no problem with that. I'm not even saying you're wrong. I just wanted to know specifically because people just said, oh, they heard it's a reach, so that's why they think it's a bad pick. You have specific criticisms. That's fine. I will say, if you're saying he only succeeded against bad offensive linemen, there's a lot of subpar offensive linemen in the NFL too. So he may still have success. Maybe that will make you feel better when your head hits the pillow. But I love that you have specific criticisms. Thank you for that. And that's definitely something that I'll have to keep an eye on when we do the film breakdown. I'll ask Johnny Dell about that. Like, how does he do against the top tier talent? That's a legit concern, I think, to be considering when you're evaluating him. So thank you. David says there will be warts on every player next year at this point. There is on everybody. The example I always give is Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time, right? Guess what? He was slow as hell. Couldn't run worth a damn. That is a wart on a player, and that's how these guys get evaluated. Sometimes that you completely overcome it, like Tom Brady obviously wasn't a factor, but it was a shortcoming of his game, and every player has shortcomings. How much they matter and how much they affect a player's career is different. Obviously, it didn't affect Tom Brady at all. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. My point is, everybody, even the greatest of the greatest of the great, have warts. Don't let that be like, oh, well, I see this one thing, so he can't be a good player, or that's a bad pick. Don't let that cloud your judgment. And by the same token, the other thing applies in the opposite direction. Oh, he's a fast 40. Great. He's going to be awesome. No, you can't do that. You got to look at the whole picture. The Steelers took Drew Aller. There's another quarterback off the board, by the way. So the Saints took Oscar Delp and ruined my life. Malachi Fields went to the Giants with the pick after that. Caleb Douglas, the wide receiver after Texas Tech, went after Malachi Fields. And now people are saying the Steelers have taken a quarterback as well. Drew Aller is he from Penn State? Yes, he is. And yes, he went. Wedge Antilli says Stats is getting tired. Top concern to be concerned about. Sorry, Wedge. Maybe I am. I've been on the air for 7 hours the past 2 days, and I did a show with Michelle earlier today. Sorry. Dave Mills says generational quarterback draft only has Trevor Lawrence left as a starter. I don't care if it's a quote unquote weak draft. Let's see how these players do before judging. That's totally fair too. It's absolutely fair. That's not really what we do with the draft, right? We do immediate grades after the picks, but none of us know. None of us really know until we get them out on the field. Even the GMs and the coaches that pick. Half the guys that are picked in the first round are going to suck every single year, regardless of how good the draft is. Go back and look. Go back and look at the first rounds. You're like, who the hell was this guy? They picked this guy 10th overall. That's just the reality of the situation. Nobody knows. Even the guys getting paid millions of dollars to make the pick. The Rogue Krusnik says, per pick 90, perfect time to draft another running back. David says, so if nobody knows, getting more chances or picks can be a good thing. It's definitely more lottery tickets for sure. Ross says, how does Michelle feel about that one? Another insane reach was the text she sent to me. People are texting me. But people in my circle are not happy so far. Johnny Dell texted me, Romelo had a solid game against Lomu when I watched their game. So, that's good. Now, maybe Perfect Blackness doesn't think that Lomu is a good offensive lineman. So I don't know if that helps ease his concerns a little bit. Greg Sanchez, YouTube channel member, says, undersized is not weighing enough isn't that big of a deal. I totally agree. It's the most fixable weakness of all time, right? Guess what? Put on muscle, gain weight. You're a professional football player now. That's the only thing you have to do. That's the most fixable of all time. Greg says, give him more food and pro strength and conditioning staff to put on 10 to 15 pounds before the season starts. Yeah, that's one of the weaknesses that I love to see. Oh, he's too light. Great. We know how to put weight on people, especially here in America, right? That is not a problem for people. So when you look at weaknesses, that's one of the first things I look for is like, what's the fixable stuff? If you're slow, you're slow. You can make modest enhancements to your speed, but for the most part, you are what you are in terms of speed. But if you don't weigh enough, we could solve that. Or if you weigh too much, we could solve that too. Those are the kind of weaknesses I like on players. And that's always the first thing I look for when I read like the Dane Brugler draft guide and all of that. Okay, so we are going to have a big breakdown on Stribling because Johnny's diving into the film right now. That's on Thursdays that we do our film breakdowns every single week on the channel, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. He's got all of Stribling's games and the same with Romelo Height. So there we go. I'm excited about that. Johnny's channel is awesome. The Johnny Dale Football Academy has a ton of film breakdowns. We just do one show every Thursday, but he's doing them constantly all the time. So if you want to go check that out, I'm sure it's going to be awesome. Gary says 90 is going to be an undraftable guy. Let's have a little faith. Come on now. Greg says, what's our next need here and what are we looking at for pick 90? Well, offensive line, obviously they haven't addressed yet. So I think you can put guard, or honestly, at this point, I wouldn't even mind if they took a center because of the future of, oh my God, I'm blanking. This is how tired I am. I'm blanking on the current center's name. You know, that center that everybody hates, Jake Brendel. There we go. That would be a need as well. Manuel Pregnon, at least right now, is still on the board. I think safety would definitely be a possibility there for sure. I would be okay if they took a corner, although to be honest, I would want them to address other needs first, although I do think corner is kind of a sneaky need. I do not want a running back here just because you have Jordan James. You spent part of this offseason saying how much you like Jordan James and how much you wished you could have got him on the field. So taking another one there, I wouldn't like. I wouldn't mind if they took a tight end, but again, I would think that they, especially now with the guys that are off the board, I think you can push that off till later. I'm really hoping for offensive line here. And again, we're only on, the Falcons are pick 79. So they're on the clock right now. We have to go all the way to 90. So we've got some time here before the 49ers make another pick. Please, for the love of God, trade up, John Lynch. Modelo Time says Kilgore, Dunker, or Washington. All options for sure. Greg says, what about linebacker without injury history? Are there any good tight ends left? Injuries from Texas, I think, could be a good late round pick at tight end. But, as much as I'm saying have faith that the 49ers could still make good draft picks, tight end has not been their strength at all. So I don't know if I have any faith in them to make one. Please don't take a running back. Please don't take a running back. Not now. Not when you've traded down and traded down and traded down. Are they going to need a running back? Yes, at some point. But I'm so sick of hearing every year about how Bobby Turner is so good and so thorough with all these running backs, and he calls them all 10,000 times. And that's fine. I'm not criticizing that. I like that they do that. But then don't waste a draft pick on a guy. If you're so good at finding these guys, find them as undrafted free agents and use your draft picks on other players. use that skill that Bobby Turner has to your benefit. That's what you should be doing. Okay. Whew. And by the way, Greg asked about injury history. To me, there's a difference between, I should take the Romelo Height topic bar off. Sorry. There's a difference between this guy has an injury history and this guy has suffered injuries while playing football before, right? Like, oh, this guy pulled a hamstring back in 2025. Yeah, he plays football. Football players get hurt. Like, now, if it was a consistent hamstring injury again and again and again every year, that's an injury history to me. But just, oh, he missed time with a broken wrist, or, oh, he missed time with, whatever the case may be. Those things happen playing football. There's 100% injury rate. So even if you find a guy that's never been hurt in college, that's no guarantee either. But I do think there is a difference there. Romelo Height says he met with KJ Wright, the Niners linebacker coach, during his 30 visit. He expects to put on some weight. He was 240 pounds at the combine. So clearly the 49ers are already addressing that weakness in his game. They've acknowledged it, and he's going to put on weight. So that is good. Barrow says he thinks he'll be more of like an outside linebacker like Byron Young and Jalen Walker. Rob Lauder tweeted, the 49ers' new pass rusher, Romelo Height, was a PFF darling when it comes to getting after the quarterback last season. 92.5 grade, which was elite. 92.6 pass rush grade, which was elite. And 91.2 true pass rush set, elite. And a pass rush win rate of 21.8, which was also elite. I'm putting that on the screen because that might make some people happy. And again, I don't know the value of PFF at this point anyway, but if we're going to put values on things, I might as well hope for them to be elite. That's a nice word I like to see next to a guy that was taken by the 49ers. So there you go. That's good news. I should have been checking this earlier. Sorry about that. Any other interesting info? Romelo Height said he, quote, had a feeling it was going to be the 49ers. Height said he spent time with KJ Wright and not Chris Kasarik. So would imagine he would be moved around to different spots. Dieter Kurtenbach says, anyone who complains about logic in the draft from this point on is clearly not paying attention. I like Caleb Douglas, but he was wide receiver 24 with a round 5 grade. Yeah. Again, I think it's going to be a lot of beauty being in the eye of the beholder at this point. If you don't think the draft is that deep, then you're picking certain guys for certain reasons, and it's whatever flavor you want. Nick Wagner tweets that Romelo Height fills a specific need, unlikely to be a 3-down end right away. He should have a shot to step into the Bryce Huff role, the one they wanted for him before injuries. 10 sacks, 58 pressures last year, yada, yada, yada. We know all this stuff. Okay. Yeah, I think that's good. I like I said, I could see the vision for it at least. And that's what you want when they're making picks at this point. Ross Johnson says the Navy guy is still on the board. Yeah, Eli Heidenreich's going to be there. He'll be on the board. The question is whether or not the 49ers will ultimately take him. Where are we in this draft? Have we progressed at all? The Packers took Chris McClellan, the defensive tackle from Missouri. The Colts took A.J. Halsey, safety from LSU. The Falcons are now on the clock. They are pick 79. Again, the 49ers have pick 90. So we got a little bit of a wait. After the 49ers pick at 90, I'm going to be wrapping this stream up because I am absolutely exhausted. And my daughter's got soccer early tomorrow morning. Let's see. The True Mata says, Pat McAfee was just doing magic at the podium to announce the pick. That tells you how bad this is dragging. Well, Pat never met a microphone he didn't love. Philippe says, my understanding is that putting on weight / muscle fast is the best way to strain the joints and tear ACLs and Achilles. I mean, now we're projecting torn ACLs and torn Achilles for players. Like, man, let's just wait. How do you know he's going to put it on too fast? Maybe he'll put it on at the perfect rate. Blacktop Halo says, oh, come on, Rob. We need a guy who can get paid for the next 3 years to almost make it back from an ACL. the pessimism among the 49ers fans. Come on. Is Pat still wearing the neck brace? I have no idea. I know that Dee Winters was traded for a 5th-round pick to the Cowboys. We have already talked about that. The Falcons take Zachariah Branch, the wide receiver from Georgia, who just got in trouble with the cops. Matt Rios, 5401, says, do you think Joey Bosa is likely a no-go at this point? Well, they certainly have the cap room to sign him if they want to sign him. I think everybody was waiting until the end of the draft, right? Because they want to see, like, did it pay out? How did the board fall? Did we get an edge that we like? It was a deep draft for edge rushers. So what I think you're going to see is a lot of teams that didn't get the guy that they want are going to say, hey, Joey Bosa, come on down. Remember, anyone that signs now doesn't go into the compensatory pick formula. So you don't have to worry about that. It doesn't affect it. And that's another thing, especially when you're talking about signing veteran players. NFL teams do not like to sign older, expensive players and have that cost them a draft pick for the, 2 years later. So that is something that they are very conscious of. I think they're very good at looking at the market and saying, no one's going to sign this guy. We'll wait after the draft, and then maybe we can bring him in, even if we have to win a little bit of a bidding war to get that guy, because we're not going to lose the draft pick. And that's where Joey Bosa is right now in his career. But I think it's possible. Now, the Niners did just take Romelo Height, so maybe they think they don't need him, but we'll see. I certainly wouldn't hate it at this point. Again, I always say over and over and over again, you can never have too many good pass rushers. So if they wanted to do it, fantastic. I would be all for it. Vish says, when did we sign Tashawn Gibson in 2022? I think we'll sign a safety this summer similarly. They signed him in like August. He was just like, hey, we've had some injuries at safety. We're throwing this guy in there. And he was a tremendous signing. And I do think that a veteran safety would be a big help because they have a lot of youth in that safety room. Marquise Siegel last year, rookie. Malik Mustafa, year 2, but came in halfway through, remember, because he was rehabbing a knee injury. So he's a little, I would say, maybe not quite as deep into his development as maybe he will be. They've got young players at safety. Age is not the issue there. Well, youth, I think, is the issue there. A veteran safety might be exactly what they need. A Tashawn Gibson type guy who's just been in the league, has done it at a professional level for a long time, can teach these guys about film study, about taking care of your body, about just little things of the position. Teaching comes from coaches, but also, there's only so much a coach can say. And a message and tips from a player can sometimes carry more weight in some ways. There are some things that some messages, I will say, that players receive better from other players than they do from coaches. But the 49ers don't really have a safety in that room right now that can give those messages to them. They can use a guy, I think, that can do that. So I would not be shocked to see a veteran safety signed by the 49ers at some point. Keegan Perry says we needed a safety and could have got the second best. The one by one, who is a veteran safety you would want them to go after? That is a fair question. At this point, I don't even know what day of the week it is, so I don't remember who's out there on the free agent market. But again, I wouldn't have thought that Tashawn Gibson would have been a good signing by the 49ers, but he absolutely was. So it might not even be a name necessarily that but the value will just come in the experience that person has. Curtis Mason, a true veteran safety who actually plays the position, not a special teamer who plays safety when everyone else is hurt. What I would hope for is a safety that is coverage first, not a box safety. Those guys, Siegel and Malik Mustafa, are box safeties. They need someone to help them with coverage, reading coverage, obviously the physical aspects of it as well. But that's what I think they need. They don't have a safety like that that's coverage first. They have box safeties. Hufanga was not a coverage first safety. He was a box safety. They've got a lot of guys that can do half of the job, and the other half of the job they were bad at, and they paid for it last year. I don't have to tell you. They paid for it over and over and over again. Bo Adams said they should sign Ed Reed. Right now, he might still be better in coverage than what we saw from the 49ers last year. Love Ed Reed. That play against Peyton Manning where he breaks one way and just to fake Peyton Manning out and completely flips his hips and reverses field and goes all the way across the field to intercept a pass to Reggie Wayne. That is diabolical. Diabolical. Ryan Heath did not like the Stribling pick. He says, worst production scores in my model by a wide receiver selected between picks 17 and 48 since 2017. He had Ricky Pearsall on his list at 41st and Stribling on the list at 26th percentile. So that's one person who didn't like the pick. I happen to think Ricky Pearsall is a damn good player. I think the only problem with Ricky Pearsall is him staying on the field. I think if he's on the field, he's going to be really, really good. I mentioned the Rams took a tight end. They have 6 tight ends on the roster right now, including last year's second-round pick, Terrence Ferguson. Ooh, man. Sorry, I just saw this tweet and it made me laugh. The Orioles have hit so many home runs off the Red Sox tonight that they ran out of fireworks in Baltimore. This is a real tweet. That's a lot of home runs. Just checking. Yeah, okay. I haven't seen anything new about Romelo Height. The Ravens took Jacoby Lane. Okay, here's something new on Romelo Height. He said, I was telling my agent the whole time that it was either going to be the Colts or the Niners. Thank God it was the Niners. I like that from Romelo Height. Apparently, he had a dream about being drafted by the 49ers. It's crazy. I had a dream about it. It wasn't exactly the Niners, but it was the Niners colors. Man, look at God. Maybe he got a message from above. If you're wondering what Brad Graham said about Romelo Height, let me throw this up there. Bam. Here's what Brad Graham said. I think he's flown under the radar as an edge prospect who offers a legit ability to rush the passer on third down. Would be a nice compliment to Mykel Williams. There you can see a couple of clips of Romelo Height tracking people down. Ooh, nice spin move there. Gotta like that. And there it is again. You know, I just talked about you want something to pop off the film, right? When you watch the guy. I haven't watched a ton of Romelo Height, so I will watch him. But it sounds like what is going to pop off the film is the speed. And again, that's my baseline. If that is something, if he's got that, great. You can find a role for that. Doesn't mean it's going to work all the time, but you can find a role. You can find a way for them to contribute. So that is obviously good. All right, where are we in the draft now? The Jaguars just picked Albert Regis, defensive tackle from Texas A&M. So we are at pick 82. Vikings pick is in. So the Panthers now at pick 83 are on the clock. Again, the 49ers pick at 90. Still hoping for an offensive lineman. Dave Mills. Rob, do you have product in your hair? It's staying up later than you are. Did you guys like have a meeting and you were going to coordinate in the chat to make fun of my hair tonight or what? Luis Fernando Aguilera Alonso, which by the way is probably my most fun name I enjoy saying on the program, says, looks like Romelo Height has plenty of moves. Again, they'll find a way to use him, especially I have faith in Raheem Morris to be able to do it. Can he contribute right away? And you know what? We saw it with Bryce Huff against the Saints. Maybe it's one time a game, but I'll never forget Bryce Huff coming off the edge against the Saints. He was in the backfield before, I think it was Spencer Rattler, had even finished the top of his drop. That's how fast Bryce Huff got there. They forced a fumble. They closed that game out. Sometimes it's just that one play, right? You get matched up on an offensive lineman. Maybe the offensive lineman doesn't hear the snap count or whatever, but speed kills. They say it for a reason. If they can find a role for him, that would be an absolute home run by the 49ers. They have desperately wanted a speed rusher opposite Nick Bosa for years. They tried it with the guy from the Chiefs. I'm sorry. I'm so tired right now. The names are escaping me. He played 22% of the snaps. What the heck was his name? Somebody help me in the chat. Oh, God, I'm sorry. I can't think of his name, but he was really good when he did play when they went to the Super Bowl in 2019. But he couldn't stay on the field. He got hurt over and over and over again. And they've been searching for it ever since. They have been Dee Ford. Dee Ford, that was his name. Sorry. Trifo on X says, hey, Rob, hear what Sim said about Romelo Height in his podcast. In 2 to 3 minutes, you can catch up some air. Yeah, that would be nice. If I could find it, I would put it on for you. Oh, okay. Here's a tweet from Robert Griffin III on Stribling. The Niners just got a true deep threat in Stribling from Ole Miss. The guy punishes cushions, 4.36 speed that is instant, and he gets vertical in a hurry to scare defenders. Day one, he will stretch the field and create big plays for everybody around him. Brock Purdy just got better. I don't know that I trust Robert Griffin III's scouting instincts, but okay. I like hearing good things about players the 49ers picked, so there you go. What was I just saying? I forgot what I was just saying. I'm sorry. Oh, the Chris Sims thing. Where is it? I'd love to play it for everybody else. Not to give myself a break, but just so that everybody else could hear it. Because certainly Chris is way more knowledgeable than I am on this. He's not really, looks like he's not tweeting. Chris was tweeting last night, but I guess he's not doing it now. But that will be one of the first things I check when I go and listen to the reaction, because I trust Chris's opinion. I worked with him for 7 years. So I know he grinds and watches all the tape. Kyle Posey says Romelo Height was second among all edge rushers in this draft in win percentage at 22.5%, slightly behind Reuben Bain Jr.'s 22.9%. Height was third in quick pressure percentage and fourth in pressure percentage. This is the kind of juice he'll bring in that Huff role. Yes, that's what we need. At least there is the potential there for him to make game-changing plays. It might not work all the time, but especially quick pressure. The 49ers don't have anybody on the roster that can get quick pressure. Even Bosa doesn't usually get quick pressure. It takes him a little bit of time. That was what the hope was for me with Bryce Huff. Hopefully he can do it because they have not had that. And there is nothing more disruptive for a quarterback than quick pressure. Nothing. You can have the best play called. You can have the most talented players on the field. You get in a quarterback's face immediately after the snap, and everything can go to hell in a hurry for an offense. So if there is any chance of that, I'm fine with it. Okay, let's catch up on the draft. Dominique Orange, fantastic name, defensive tackle from Iowa State, is off the board at 82. Chris Brazzell, the wide receiver from Tennessee, off the board at 83. He was a guy potentially that I thought the 49ers could be interested in. Another very, very fast guy. But obviously the Niners could have had him, chose not to take him, and he is now unavailable. Congratulations, Carolina Panthers fans. Here we go. Bucks, 84. Their pick is in. The Steelers are on the clock at 85. Chargers, Dolphins, Jags, Bears, Niners. That is where we are, inching towards the end of the third round here on day 2 of the 2026 NFL Draft. We're getting there, people. We are getting there. Fino says Dante Pettis has convinced everyone that Shanahan hates rookie wide receivers. Jesse Morris says, Rob, I have conviction that you can pull through till 90.
Convicted.
There you go. Trifo says podcast is from April 2nd, minute 49. I don't want to scrub through the podcast. I will get it perhaps for a 49ers in 5. So I will eventually let you hear it. Bo Adams, stop advocating for a punter from Army in the chat. I see you. You've put it like a bunch of times. If you keep saying it, you're going to manifest it. That's the problem. That's what I'm afraid of. All right. Come on, Bo. All right. Let's see. The Buccaneers pick is in. The Steelers are still on the clock. ESPN went to commercial. Okay. Luis Fernando Aguilar Alonso says it was not only Pettis, all rookie receivers except Pearsall have gotten doghoused at some point, except for Debo. And Debo did plenty of stuff that should have put him in the doghouse, and he never got there because Kyle just loved him. That was also, I think, part of the frustration with Brandon Ayuk. It's like, whoa, you sent me off to back up Trent Sherfield, and this guy's doing all sorts of stuff, and he never gets in trouble. I do think that was part of it. I like people yelling in the chat about don't talk about the Army punter. Michael asks, Rob, who will we pick? You think I know at this point with the way this draft has gone? Who will we pick? You know what? Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to randomly look at the names, and I'm going to just pick a name out. I'm going to say Mike Washington Jr. from Arkansas, the running back. I have no insider knowledge of this. I have not heard that the 49ers are thinking about him in this round or anything like that. But you're asking me who we're going to pick? My official prediction is going to be Mike Washington. They love their running backs. I would not be shocked at all if that is the pick. And if I waited around for 3.5 hours for a running back at the end of round 3, I'm going to break something. I don't know what it is, but I will break it. Now I got to find something that looks moderately breakable in here. I don't really have anything, so that's a promise I probably shouldn't have made, but here we go. Luis says, I'd rather have a punter than a running back. Yeah, we are all open for O-line, Keegan Perry. I see you. I'm hoping for it too. I think because then you would have had with your first 3 picks, wide receiver, edge, offensive line, which is pretty much what everybody said the 49ers needed to address in the draft. And they would have addressed each one of those positions. So if they do that, I don't know if that's what they're going to do. Jesse says stats is going to break our hearts. Oh, Michael, let's trade back. Come on now, guys. I appreciate the humor at this point in the draft. They better not trade back. Brett says, don't manifest that stats. You manifested the trade out of the first. I did? Are we blaming me for the trade out of the first? I kept saying I didn't want them to trade out of the first. Maybe that's why. Maybe you think that's why it happened. I don't know. But oh, Josh Norris tweeted. Let me throw this up on the screen. Whoops. The closer we get to the draft, the more love the NFL is showing for Ole Miss wide receiver Dejon Stribling. He had to turn down 3 team visits. He just ran out of time. He will go top 64. The only question is how high. He did go top 64. He went 33, but apparently this was someone that picked up steam in the process. I don't understand guys that pick up steam. Like, why? His tape is his tape. It's been out there forever. All of a sudden, I guess maybe the visits, people like the tape, but they want to meet the player, and then the visits push him up. That could be. The Navy running back is apparently in the Eli Heidenreich is in the green room. If they are going to go running back, that's who I want. I don't think they're going to do it, but if they are going to go running back, give me Eli Heidenreich, please. Ooh, the Buccaneers took Ted Hurst, the wide receiver from Georgia State. He was somebody that I saw mocked to the 49ers. 2 straight wide receivers taken. 3 of the last 5 picks. No, 4 of the last 6 picks have been wide receivers. Zachariah Branch went to the Atlanta. Jacoby Lane went to Baltimore. Chris Brazzell went to Carolina. And Ted Hurst went to Tampa Bay. The Steelers pick is in. So that puts the Cleveland Browns at 86 on the clock. I don't know who the Steelers have. I can't remember who the Steelers have taken in this draft. Let me see if I could bring that up really quick. I know Michelle. I know they took Maxi Honachor in the first round, and Michelle was not happy about that. They also have drafted Jeremy Bernard, the wide receiver from Atlanta, and Drew Aller, the quarterback from Penn State. All offense for the Steelers in the first 3 picks. Something tells me Michelle is not going to be happy about that. Just saying. All right. Jermon McCoy is still out there. He's a cornerback that some people said could have gone in the first round, and he is still sitting here in round 3. Does it get to the point with the 49ers where at some point they're like, this guy is just so much higher rated than everybody we have that we have to take him, even if we don't think it's a position of need? I wouldn't be shocked. All right, let me check Twitter really quick after that. I just saw that Josh Norris post, and Josh is another. I worked at NBC for 7 years, so I got to know Josh really well. So I trust his evaluations as well. He does this year round. So again, maybe somebody that you can trust a little bit. As we are rolling down here, I'm not seeing anything new about Romelo Height. I guess he said everything happened for a reason. I was expecting to go a little earlier, but I was just thanking God he's going to get me to a place I need to be, and we're going to thrive. It's a huge blessing that I'm with the 49ers because we are going to go win some Super Bowls. You know what, Romelo Height? Don't lose that confidence. I will say that. That is the attitude we like to have. Keep that confidence up. Okay, nothing new about anything else. We are inching towards it again. The Browns are still on the clock. Their pick is not in. So maybe are they trying to? Oh, nope. Now the pick is in. So there you go. Dolphins on the clock at 87. So the Browns, Dolphins, Jags, Bears, Niners. That's where we are. Still plenty of decent options on the board, I think. Stats should have put on that Sam Darnold jersey. Why, Jesse? I've already put that on too many times in my life. Modelo Time 1999 says you can't have too many good corners. That's true. I do think the Niners cornerback room is in decent shape right now. Now, if they traded Renardo Green, obviously that would be different. I think that there has been a weird kind of push that the 49ers should trade Renardo Green just because Kyle Shanahan yelled at him. Like, that happens. Coaches yell at players all the time. Coaches can bench players. Like, that doesn't necessarily mean that the relationship is over. They invested a second-round pick in Renardo Green. This regime does not do that with cornerbacks. Don't forget, Diamador Lenore was a fifth-round pick. So they must have seen something in Renardo Green that they really liked. And I certainly, is he perfect? No, but I don't think he's played bad enough that you'd want to get rid of him. He's a cheap corner. Those don't, look at the corner market. Those don't go everywhere. Those are, they don't grow on trees, I should say. A lot of people tweeting about Romelo Height right now. Nicholas McGee, who covers the Niners, says, hey, look, an edge rusher with excellent 2025 production who checks all the 49ers boxes athletically. They have no idea what they're doing, though, apparently. If you want to like Romelo Height, Brian Peacock says, watch him eat up Caleb Lamu. Texas Tech played Utah. Designated pass rusher. He has a bag and some juice. He did play 6 college seasons. That's crazy. When a guy plays that long, do you wonder, like, is he just succeeding because he's just older and bigger and stronger, faster than everybody in college because he's played for so long? That's a real thing, too, that I think you have to balance. Patrick says, where's Levin to tag in and keep this going? He is at work. Apparently, his job is going through some big thing, and they needed him to work like every day for 2 weeks. So, unfortunately, Levin can't hop in. I'm hoping that Michelle Majuk will hop in, but we will see. The Cleveland Browns have made their selection. Oops, sorry, wrong button. Austin Barber from Florida. The Steelers picked Dalen Everett, the corner from Georgia at 85. Austin Barber, the tackle from Florida at 86. Dolphins, Jags, Bears. The Dolphins pick is in. It is Will Kasmerick. I don't know how to say it. He's a tight end from Ohio State. So the Dolphins pick is in. The Jags are on the clock. Jags are 88. We are now 2 picks away from the 49ers. Let's go, Niners. If they pick an offensive lineman and it's wide receiver, edge, offensive lineman, will any of you who were furious in the second round recant your fervor, your furiosity, your furiousness? Will you recant when you see that? That's what I want to know. Rick says, do we have a trade again or not? I don't know. God help us if they do. Like, really. If they have another trade, I'm done. I'm just telling you, I'm done. So that's where we're at. Fino says, if they get Pregnone, I'm happy. I completely agree. Paul says, Alex Boone was recently talking about a table being thrown at him in a coaching meeting. Okay, but by who? That would have to be by Harbaugh, right? That was under the Harbaugh regime. But I'd like to hear that story. I love hearing the stories like that behind the scenes. Vish Bell says, the only thing I'm frustrated with are the amount of trade downs. Otherwise, it's been okay. Edgar Corona. Edgar, man, where you been? I feel like I haven't seen you in the chat. Says, happy Friday, Rob. Hope you and the family are well. Thank you, Edgar. I hope the same for you as well. Jesse says, if we get a punter, I'm happy. Stop it. Stop. You guys keep mentioning it. I'm telling you, it's going to happen if you keep saying it. The Jaguars pick is in, so the Bears are on the clock. They are the one spot ahead of the 49ers. They'll probably take someone I wanted the 49ers to take. But we will see. What have the Bears done so far in this draft? Dylan Thieneman, a guy I wanted the 49ers to take. Logan Jones is a center from Iowa. And then they took Roush. Oh, that hurts. Chicago, you have wounded me. Thieneman and Roush, two guys I was hoping the 49ers would end up with. Come on. Don't do it to me a third time, Chicago. I don't want to see that. All right. Let me check Twitter again, see if anybody has said anything remotely interesting as we wait for the 49ers to make their pick. Oh, no. Dieter Kurtenbach says Pregnone was just picked. Oh, man. That would have been nice. That would have been nice. Damn it all to hell. We were so close. A lot of these guys have gotten so close to the 49ers that you really start to believe that it might just fall to them ever so perfectly. And then, bam, right at the last minute, they can't get him. Oh, if the 49ers hadn't traded down, they might have been able to get this person. But God, they needed those extra picks. Jesse Morris says, Stats, are you more excited about Sleep or the Niners pick? The Niners pick. I love this, man. It's hard, but the fact that I get to do this is my job is awesome, man. So I appreciate the super chat. Thank you. I will never take it for granted. Patrick Lucero says if they wanted him, they would have taken him. Yeah, I agree with you. I just wish they wanted him, I guess is what I'm saying. That is frustrating. That would have been the Jags took Pregnone at 88, getting him way later than most expected him to go. At least it wasn't the Bears again, but still, that one stings. I wonder if that's what the 49ers were planning on. And all right, if that happened, what's your backup plan? Every team has got to have somebody they want. They got to have a backup plan, A, B, C, and D. You got to have multiple because like we said, you don't have a ton of time and you've had months to simulate this stuff and go through every possible scenario that could be there. So you should not be scrambling at this point. You should have a backup plan. All right, here's this group of guys in this tier that we want. Who's left out of this tier when our pick comes up? We take that guy. And if we don't have any, we trade down. Now, here's the thing. If all those guys are gone and you can't trade down because nobody wants to pick, what do? You just have to pick the best guy at the next tier. You really don't have any other options at that point. Edgar Corona says, I'm working when you go live, LOL, but I always catch the recorded videos on here. Well, thank you, Edgar. I appreciate it. Any of your time that you give me is greatly, greatly appreciated. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel as well. Michael says, Rob, are you Stats from Around the Horn on ESPN? No, I am not. I look like Tony Reale, or at least I did at one point, but no, he was Stat Boy on PTI. I am Stats, as dubbed by Todd McShay when I worked at ESPN Radio way back in the day. Different guy. And I wish I had Tony Reale's paycheck for the last decade, too. That'd be pretty sweet. Never actually crossed paths with Tony when I was at ESPN. Kind of crazy. I don't know how that happened. I was there for 7 years, but nope, never happened. All right, the Bears pick is in. So the 49ers are on the clock. Finally. The 49ers are on the clock for their last pick, we think, of the third round. If they make another one, you're going to have to do it without me. Let's see who the Bears are taking here, and we can get to it. Bo Adams says, you watched those Mike and Mike shows back in the day when I worked on Mike and Mike? Thank you, Bo. That was awesome. That was, first of all, training of a lifetime. Also, so much damn fun. It was criminal that I got paid to work that job because it was one of the best I ever had. And I consider myself blessed and proud of the work that we did there. So thank you. You're going way back. The Bears have picked Xavier Thomas, a wide receiver from LSU. So the wide receiver is off the board. Your San Francisco 49ers are on the clock. Where are they going to go? Pick 90 in round 3. Let's take a quick look. Pregnone, obviously being off the board is a bummer. That's the guy I wanted them to take. Jennings Dunker is still there. If the 49ers wanted another offensive lineman from Iowa, that's a guy a lot of people fell in love with because he had the giant red mullet at the Senior Bowl. Other guards, Brian Parker II from Duke is still there. Arnez Cooper from Miami is still on the board. What are the Bo Stevens from Iowa still there also? The 49ers pick is in. The pick is in. They're showing, okay, that's the Bears draft room, not the 49ers draft room. Bears got Thieneman, Logan Jones, Sam Roush, and Xavier Thomas. Ooh, good. That's just another reason for me to hate Ben Johnson, quite frankly. All right, Niners, do it to it here. Let's go. Get an offensive lineman, and we can be happy. My official pick was Mike Washington, the running back. That was my prediction for who they're going to take. Watch ESPN go to a commercial right here. Ready? Here we go. Let's see if they're going to actually do it or if they're going to actually show it. No, it looks like they're not going to a commercial. All right, here we go. The San Francisco 49ers select. Drum roll, please. Kayla. It's a running back. It's a running back. I can't believe it. I mean, I can believe it. Kalen Black, the running back from Indiana, is the 49ers pick at number 90. We had a feeling they were going to go running back. That's what they do. Again, I know people want offensive line. They just don't ever seem to want to do it. Oh, they were so close to landing the plane. They were so close, and maybe they'll do it later. Let's do what we always do. Let's go to the Dane Brugler draft guide and break it down. This was not thought to be a strong draft for running backs, but nonetheless, that is the pick, so we might as well talk about it. A short, well-built back who was punches above his weight class, pass catching, needs work. Okay, immediately right off the bat, that is frustrating because Kyle always says we can't take Christian McCaffrey off the field because the other running backs aren't good enough at pass catching. And so that's why we have to give Christian McCaffrey 450 touches. So that is frustrating. Dane Brugler had him as a 5th or 6th round grade, but I think those are out the window at this point, just judging how everybody else has done it. Part-time role player at Indiana. He shared duties with Roman Hemby in the scheme. Offensive coordinator Mike Shanahan's scheme, by the way, not related to the 49ers Shanahans at all. He each topped 1,000 yards, both running backs. Yeah, great. Congratulations. A short, well-built back. Black runs balanced, low to the ground, and consistently finds cracks at the line of scrimmage. Instead of gearing down ahead of impending contact, he bursts to accelerate into flat-footed defenders, and his physical run style helps him maximize each touch. Though mashing the gas pedal helps him produce, he could benefit from added patience to eliminate false stepping cuts. That's surprising because the 49ers love running backs that are patient, and it's one of the things they have to teach running backs to be is patient because of the scheme and the outside zone stuff. It's a lot of running backs aren't used to that. They aren't used to waiting and picking the hole finally. Now, we did see the 49ers start to run more gap stuff last year, so maybe they're going to do less of that, so that won't matter as much, but we'll have to wait and see. Dane Brugler says Black runs with light feet and punches above his weight class to consistently get more yards than expected. Once in an NFL camp, his ability to prove himself as a pass catcher will be critical to carving out a part-time role. How are you feeling about the pick? He ran a 4.45 40-yard dash, so not slow, but not exactly a burner. Let's look at some strengths. Muscled up for his size with defined bulk in his quads, midsection, and arms. Physical ball carrier and keeps his legs pumping at contact. Runs low and balanced to keep his feet between the tackles. Fleet of foot athlete who can make sudden, abrupt cuts. Pairs his eyes with his feet and trusts his vision. That is something that I think will be very good. Despite sharing carries, he had at least one run of 10-plus yards in 15 of 16 games in 2025. Squares and takes on blitzers to get the job done in pass protection. He's a Freaks List alum. 415-pound bench press and 500-pound squat. Good Lord. Scouts say he isn't a vocal leader, but works his tail off and has the respect of the locker room. A lot to like there for sure. Let's get to the weaknesses. Shorter legs, second level speed is average at best. Will attack before blockers have a chance to set things up. That's not good. Saw just 12 targets in 29 games at Indiana. Didn't drop any of them. Well, I hope not. Always a part of a backfield by committee. Torn ACL and right knee in 2021. Will turn 25 during his rookie season. All right. Obviously, the ACL thing kind of stinks, but that's, you got to live with that. I guess the 49ers are okay living with that. It's Kalon Black, by the way. Sorry if I said his name wrong. Kalon Black is how you pronounce his first name. Nick Ellert says, it's crazy they keep drafting the same running back in the third round every draft who can't catch, and it never works. That's fair, but they also drafted Isaac Garendo, and he used to be a wide receiver, had great hands, and that didn't work either. So, I don't know. Dave Mills says, part-timer in the third round? Sounds about right. Tacky Needle says, guys, you can ask us to draft linemen for decades, and we're going to tell you F off. Vish Bell says, I'm guessing Toth is the left guard and Love is the backup to Trent. Lowe would be the backup to Trent. But yeah, it's looking like Toth is going to be the left guard now. Now, the Niners basically did say that they were going to draft a left guard. They said it at the owners' meetings, basically, that they flat out were looking to draft one. Now, looking to draft one and actually drafting one, obviously, are two different things. And maybe they're just going to say the board didn't fall that way, which, of course, is what they always say when it gets down to it. Let's check the Dieter and Hutch draft guide. When it comes to Kalon Black, could be a legitimately awesome running back one who can do everything and awesome asks of him. Even if that's not long-lived, still a route where he's the best RB2 in the league. Downside would be, at worst, a fast guy who's always low on the totem pole, but with enough traits, you keep him around for special teams. Sorry about the voice, guys. Jake Hutchinson's stamp of approval. Blue chip cream of the crop athlete. I like that. Elite speed, it says. That's surprising because the 40 time wouldn't tell you that. Executes when it matters. Production over measurables. Okay. Elusive, shifty player. Dominant run game blocker. I like that. Wants the smoke. Feisty, competitive. Love it. And stellar pass protection. That's obviously a key to get on the field early if you're a running back. Pass protection. Jake's take. Sneaky long speed and gets going quick. Has the ability to maintain balance after being clipped in the ankle. No arm tackles, sir. Looks comfortable as a route runner and as a blocker who did a lot of dirty work. Real explosive capabilities. Can turn short gains into chunks with a nice rhythm and flow. Not laterally dynamic and can occasionally get his feet caught up trying to get going. Shades of a young Tevin Coleman, which makes perfect sense because Kyle Shanahan loved Tevin Coleman. So I am not surprised to see him want to get another one. Daniel Garcia says, would love to land Sam Heck at center. Me too. Benjamin says, so what the hell happened to Jordan James? Well, that's frustrating because they talked again about how much they love Jordan James, and maybe they still do. The real question is, how fast does Isaac Garendo get cut? I think that is what this pick tells you, is that Isaac Garendo is not going to be long for this 49ers team. Death taxes in the 49ers taking a third round running back. Jason Aponte says, all right, y'all be cool. I got to get Averly to bed. So we're going to run race for life. Okay. That run race for your life. Charlie Brown. Okay. I don't even know what that means. Sorry. I'm old. Jake Hutchinson says, a little earlier than the slot I had him, but mocked Black to the 49ers in my one and only. Someone said, if we only have positions of need, like left guard and safety. It is funny that the 49ers keep taking third round running backs. Like, man, they don't care about certain criticisms. They care about some. They don't care about others. This is not one that they care about. John says, Jed, please fire Kyle. This is the worst draft I've seen in a long time. Vish Bell says, I think James is the number 2. Black will be redshirted. I don't know. You know what? We might have a legitimate position battle for the backup running back in training camp. And why shouldn't we, right? Why are we handing the job to Jordan James? Let him compete. Don't play Christian McCaffrey in the preseason. Jordan James, Black, get in there. Guess what? Battle it out. Kalon Black, maybe you could be RB2 if you're good. This comment says, Davian says, we just didn't feel like there were any great guys on the board. Meanwhile, great players are sliding off the board. The 1x1. Could you imagine what all these running backs we draft could do if we ever address the offensive line? First of all, I'm surprised I haven't gotten a text from Levin Black that they drafted a family member. Michelle says the 49ers just took a player that wasn't even invited to the combine, a 25-year-old running back that probably was going to go undrafted. I have no idea about that. He wasn't invited to the combine, and he is 25 years old. Again, that doesn't bother me because are you going to sign him to a second contract? I don't think you should ever sign a running back to a second contract. So what the hell do I care if he's 25? He's gonna have a 4-year contract. They'll be done with him by the time he's 29. So that doesn't bother me. Let's see. Johnny Dell said, did I talk about Kalon on the show, or was that just in my own? I can't even remember at this point. Sorry, now I'm reading text messages out loud. Eddie says, the F are we doing, 49ers? Come on. No defensive lineman. Well, they took Romelo Height, so they just took a defensive lineman. Michael says, what if this is one of our better drafts? Worst draft was the Trey Lance draft. Fino says, why these old guys? Here's the thing. You have to get more comfortable with older prospects because of COVID, first of all, and because of the NIL money. Guys are staying in school longer. You're not going to get as many 21, 22-year-old guys because they're making bank in college football, and they weren't before. So we're all going to have to just adjust our thinking when it comes to how old these guys are. Get used to it because I don't think it's going to change as long as they can make the money. And dude, playing in college football is fun for these guys. A lot of these guys, especially the big programs, they're the king of the world at their particular schools. Imagine hanging out with all your friends in college, partying. You're like the mayor of whatever town you're in. You barely have to go to class. Everybody loves you. I get why they want to stay in school. I completely get that. The result of that is they're going to have to accept older guys in the NFL. Oh, shoot. Everybody's reminding me I have to break something. I don't know. I don't have anything to break. What is this? I have a gift card. All right. I can't even break it because it's plastic. I can bend it. Does that count? I don't have anything to break here. Here. I'll rip this tissue box. All right. There we go. That counts as breaking something, I think. Running back in round 3. Death, taxes, and running backs in round 3. That's what the 49ers do. I expect 49ers media to be talking about him shortly. Needed time to process the pick. Noah Furtado says Kalen Black was a 1,000-yard rusher at Indiana last season, but basically a non-factor in the passing game. I imagine there are not going to be too many happy people with the 49ers draft so far. I will throw this up from Matt Mayoko, who's just summarizing the picks. So far, the 49ers have drafted Stribling in round 2. Deshaun Stribling. They're going all names in this draft, too. Romelo Height in round 3 and Kalen Black also in round 3. They have 107 left, 127, 133, and 139 in the 4th round. I think here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to go live tomorrow after the 4th round of the draft. I got a couple of family things I got to do tomorrow, but I think that is going to be the plan. We may even do a special live show Sunday because some of the folks from the Gold Standard Network are going to be around. A lot of them were out of town today. So we may do a special live show on Sunday. So I think that's how we're going to handle it. I don't know the guys that are going to be taken in the 4th round well enough to provide any value for you. So that's, I think, the best way to go. The last thing I want to do is waste your time. So yeah, thanks everybody for sticking with me. I really appreciate it. I got nothing left on my voice. Kalen Black, frustrating, may end up being more necessary though, right? If Christian McCaffrey gets hurt, then all of a sudden Kalen Black could be your starting running back next year. That could be a real thing that ends up happening. Jordan James could be that guy too, but I wouldn't call it a luxury pick. I just wouldn't call it their most pressing need. I want to thank everybody in the chat. Obviously, doing this by myself, I relied a lot on you guys, and you did not disappoint. You never do. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I want normally, like I did last year, I want to have people cycling in and out so you guys get different perspectives and not just me. I will try to do that again next year. I tried to had some things lined up. They kind of fell through, unfortunately, but thank you. I appreciate it. If you're just checking us out, we usually have multiple co-hosts. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel. I promise you, if you give us some of your time, you will like our 49ers coverage. Thank you. Keegan says, I loved it. First time here. Thank you. Patrick says, stay. Let's keep it going all night. If you do, then you won't hear from me tomorrow. That's the case. Dave Mills, great job, right? Great job tonight, Rob, you and everyone in the chat. Yeah, it was great to do this with you. That was really cool. So I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Like this video. Go damn Niners. Hopefully they can eventually address the offensive line. We'll see. We'll talk tomorrow after the Niners are done with all their picks.